Awake, Master thrice divided, once to flesh and spirit, once to man and God, once to love and will. Take up the flame of the second, black as night, and cold as evil. Make known the motion, bleak and blurred to nothingness. Alight upon the dreamhead, who yet slumbers, who dreams of the worlds, the words, the verses. Awake, Master thrice divided. Your mantle is omen, your diadem is deity. Revelation has no confines for one as you, for you are the songstream, the turning lotus, the centerfold, the utter and the undiluted. You are of yourself. You are unmoved and without passing. Warfare ravages as a lulling trill through the song supernal, the verse, which is the serpent, which is the turning, which is all worlds, all times, all spaces. But you have arisen, in fire and in star and in symbol, attained the first emanations of the rising Amaranthia, the opening of the eyes, the hypnagogue of the somnambulist, at Deus, who is the unmoving hand. You are the dream who no longer needs its dreamer. Poetry for the sword swinger. You have arisen in unimaginable power, even throughout the verse, the all-encompassing meta-narrative of all real, fictitious and conceivable worlds, total and undiluted creation itself. You have crossed between the poles. You have grasped the truth. You are become the anointed, the witness, the aegis of meaning. The bell chimes, the stream flows, the living God awakens. The spark. And as the way closes behind thee, as the deep waters swirl in reverence, the very air is thine own, thine alone, a foot akin to wind, an eye akin to fire, a will akin to the bones of the world. Techniques of the Star Slaughterer. The attainment of the first fires of mastery are encapsulated in the moment of your sparking. In a flash, understanding of the deepest fundamental truths of creation have enlightened and imbued you with power that exceeds even that of the gods, capable of multiverse-altering feats by a mere wave of the hand, annihilating cosmic opposition with but a twitch of your will. Upon your anointment, you have been imbued with the first flames of Amaranth. Your decision of the initial strength of this spark merely determines how long it will take to attain this final state of absolute omnipotence. A flicker of revelation. Like the living gods of ages and verses long forgotten, your ascent into the absolute begins like the chime of a bell before the gong, like a droplet of rain before the hurricane, like the first twistings of a candle's flame before the coming of unquenchable fire. You are one of, if not the most powerful being in existence, though in versal cycles long ago, beings of a caliber like yours once existed. That given, your will arbitrates the vast cosmos with a wave of your hand, commands gods to bow, and beckons existence itself to match it. You have 10 spark points, 2 resource points, 1 mode of transcendence. A light of premonitions. Even at your initial power, you exceed other enlightened beings of your ilk by an exponential margin. You are unquestionably more powerful than every existing being in the verse, and only the highest beings and mantles in the cosmos in unified opposition could prove a remote threat. Your spark hungers and swirls with amaranth, desperate to rise into the absolute and the unknowable. You have 12 spark points, 4 resource points, 2 modes of transcendence. A blaze of awakening. At the moment of your ascension, you possess power sufficient to challenge even the Master God, the arbiter of the current versal cycle. There speaks nothing to the powers you may come to wield as the spark grows within you. Ancient and powerful abstract beings and coveted mantles who are in themselves nigh omnipotent could not endure a snap of your fingers, even in full unified throng. The whipping tongues of amaranthine fire soar and surge within you, lasting for infinite and unrivaled power. You have 16 spark points, 5 resource points, 3 modes of transcendence. An inferno of supremacy. Upon your anointment, you have already attained the Master Spark, the final flame before your ascent into Amaranth. Thus, you have complete initial access to the powers of the Master Spark, and require no further magnification or time to attain them. You exceed even the Arbiter of the Versal Cycle in power by far, and there are so few bounds to your power that it is difficult to discern it from omnipotence. Only Amaranth awaits. You have 6 Spark Points, 10 Master Spark Points, 6 Resource Points, innumerable or custom modes of transcendence. Modes of Transcendence. Winking Day, amber gleamer lighteth twofold, knows the deaf awakenings, the illuminate foils of phantasm forms. High upon the unsaid Sethanti, solemn meditates, unapproachable, tongue dream deepened by the every coil of his ocular fires. Logos, Medized, become the solar crucible by my egg. Solon yet awakes, aye, Solon yet awakes, yet turns to Sethanti. Solon awakes, verse 1. Your individual spark is unique to you, and thus is a mirror into your very being, the distilled essence of your personal alchemy. These reflections and emanations may be indicative of a fundamental change to powers you possess, or they may merely be reflective of your powers and archetype. Whatever the case may be, the metaphysical meaning behind your powers is part of your spark, and influences how you manifest your powers. None are superior or inferior to the others, though some may be more or less desirable depending upon individual preference. It may be desirable to you to combine these aspects within your spark, or for the purposes of your epithets, and you may do so if it's desirable to you. Note that, regardless of the number of modes you choose, your choice of spark and not your modes of transcendence determine your initial power. Mythic. You have transcended mortality and life itself, becoming the apex being, the end goal of evolution, struggle and will across the cosmos. Mythics may pass down their transcendence through blood, making them a vicious and feared race of multiversal monarchs. However, as their bloodlines thin, the powers they grant decay with each successive generation. You are now an original Grand Mythic, far more capable than those descendants who scourge creation with ease. You may pass down your mythic abilities, if you so desire, to any of your offspring. Your abilities are willed in nature. Architect. Your consciousness has connected itself to the fabric of creation, and the inherent forces which cause this existence, allowing you incredible godlike powers over the cosmos. As an architect, you are designated as one of the pillars upon which reality stands, a status attained rarely even by gods. Your edict decides the very balance and nature of the world. Architects in ancient times tasked themselves with designing, maintaining, and creating vast worlds, sprawling galaxies, and the organization and structures upholding infinite timelines and multiverses. Your abilities are creative in nature. Dark Enlightenment. You have peered into the heart of the world and realized that it is nothingness, a mere story, that life, love, and existence are illusionary, that death and entropy consume all, even in a scenario existing only in pure fantasy. Having not prepared yourself properly for revelation, the gravity of the illusion fills you with reality, and you stand at the precipice of the endless blackness, knowing that anything else is a farce. As such, dispelling or adding to this illusion of reality is simple. You are the only being who is truly real and outside the delusion, your opposition being a mere fog beneath your boot, nothing more than wicked fantasia. Your abilities are negative in nature. Living Image. You have seen the dream of the verse as it is. You have spoken your name to the vivid illusion, and you have become an individual, disparate and yet one with all things. The world is as but a dream, and you the dreamer. Everything is dependent upon you to stand upright. The status of living image is much like Buddhist enlightenment, in that one realizes that they are one with creation, but also much like Zolifism, in that one realizes that creation is one with themselves, and so is as manipulable as moving a finger or blinking. Think of these abilities as like a lucid dream, in which you see past the veil and realize that nothing is outside of yourself. Your abilities are surreal in nature. The Secret. Through the understanding of the secret, the meaning of everything is within your grasp. Manipulation of these secrets allow creation to be malleable on a conceptual level, given that you understand its underpinnings perfectly. Think of Prometheus and the secret of fire, and then conceive of having knowledge of every secret, given that just one made man into a veritable god of the earth. Even deities will be as insects to you. Your abilities are esoteric in nature. Godhood. You have ascended to divinity, to be numbered among the ranks of the pantheonic gods. However, you are not merely a deity, but a supreme deity, a god among gods, for whom Hyperion bends the knee and Athena kisses the foot. You are not bound up in a single aspect of godhood, such as thunder, the seas, or so on, and your powers are far more broad and overreaching. As such, you will likely reign over and be worshipped by all. Your abilities are divine in nature. Abstract. You are no longer yourself. Rather, you have become unified with creation as an abstract, representing as a consciousness forces beyond mortal comprehension. Your being is no longer tied to an individual, but now simply is, and has been for time immemorial. You are a conceptual being, nearly unstoppable from this fact alone. While other abstracts may represent time, space, love, and so on, you are not bound to a conceptual aspect, and represent something far higher and broader, something inexpressible by words alone. Your abilities are cosmic in nature. Royalty. Your claim to the mantle of deity is not something to be revealed or learned, but to be conquered. The coveted title of royalty is attained only by those who wish for it least, and thus are most worthy. Royalty is not so much a claim to a kingdom, but a claim to ultimate hegemony. It is a title stating on a metaphysical and conceptual level that you are deserving of absolute power and knowledge above all others. Think of it like pulling the sword from the stone, but rather than kingship being given power to bend creation like a paperclip. Your abilities are earned in nature. The One. You have not been chosen, but you have chosen yourself. No higher power or influence, no revelation or personal conquest, no great authority or ordained fate has granted you your abilities. You have simply become what you are, and always have been meant to be. The verse is not a story of stories, but a story about you. You have become the subject of the painting, at the foreground of the infinite. Your abilities are existential in nature. Almighty sciences. You have delved into unknowable and powerful arts, which man was never meant to uncover. Through artificial means you have imbued yourself with powers beyond the gods, by no other hand or intellect than your own. As such, there is no one like you throughout the cosmos, your powers having been achieved in a way that could never be replicated again. Your abilities are designed in nature. Outsider. You have attained a fundamental cosmic otherness, becoming unbounded to the verse and what exists outside of it. You are likened into an apocalyptic being, beyond comprehension, rising from outside of the realm of existence itself. You are not created, but you create. You are not born, but you exist nonetheless. This curious existence you have come into contact with is nothing but a plaything before you, a strange bauble on the necklace of true infinity. Your abilities are eldritch in nature. Inheritor. Your abilities arise from the death of several beings of far less power than yourself. You are the coalescence of the might of long-dead living gods, fulfilled in a flash and revealed in an instant. Your birth heralded the coming of one more powerful than the sum of their parts, long awaited and planned. Just as your forerunners did. If you should pass on from this verse, whether in choosing to die, or to rise to higher powers than can be imagined, you may pass on your abilities to one you see as worthy. Your powers are your birthright in nature. Goals. Conquest. You wish to enter the Versal War so that its boons will be yours and yours alone. You will overcome the paltry empires and their squabbles for power, with ruthless, crushing efficiency, and the wealth of 1,000 universes shall sit shining in your palm. The verse shall bow before you in worship, and your authority will be insurmountable. Of course, there is a war to wage before the revelry may begin. Luxury. You wish to live a perfect life of absurd pleasure, decadence and lavish comforts, uninterrupted by responsibilities or dangers. Your palaces will stretch to the size of small countries, if not larger. Your robes will be made of fine dream weave, and you will rest your head in crystal springs, attended by worshipful harems and doting servants. With the power at your disposal, no one will dare try to disturb or betray you. Other powers will even contribute to your wealth and leisure, in the hopes of preventing any undue intervention in the war, so long as you do not choose to oppose them. Adventure. With the kind of power you possess, you finally have complete freedom. Nothing and no one could ever threaten you. What is to stop you from exploring every wonder in the universe, learning secrets hidden in ancient, long-forgotten crypts, and viewing every vista, every high mountain's peak, every dreary sunset, as you bathe in gurgling streams, walk through emerald forests, and explore the crossroads of bustling cities? No one ever said having vast powers meant you were required to do anything extravagant with them. Friendship, love, adventure, and new experiences are enough. Living out a compelling narrative is of far more import than other pursuits. Battle. The blood-chilling rush of combat compels you, drives you to new heights of strength. While you are unquestionably strong, there are still those who are at or slightly below your strength, and those that could feasibly defeat you with large enough numbers. Foes such as these will always crop up when their predecessors are defeated, and so your struggle continues. Your might will be tested against insurmountable odds, sending shockwaves through the cosmos unlike anything before witnessed. While you likely cannot die, you can still be outclassed with sufficient might, and so you must steel your abilities to their peak. Whether leading vast armies into battle, facing godlike opponents in single combat, or serving as a one-man army yourself, you have many worthy adversaries waiting. Mastery. You are not satisfied with the powers you possess. Within yourself you can sense great vistas of untapped potential, and you are drawn to explore what you're truly capable of. Knowledge and power are greater than any treasures, and so you will pursue through concerted effort even higher powers than your own, to become a truly unstoppable master, wise and mighty beyond comprehension. Those few who dare to challenge you will soon know how hopelessly outmatched they are, when the full potential of your strength causes creation itself to shudder in fear. Benevolence. The verse is filled with violence, crime, betrayal, and evil. This corruption of the world cannot stand, and you will use your might to put an end to it. In your wake, you will ensure tranquility, beauty, and heavenly joy, dispelling the clouds of ruthlessness and pain. The anguish of 12 billion years of war will heal, given a great enough healer. Families will be reunited, the billions dead raised and returned to their loved ones, wrongs righted, treaties formed, and peace restored. Greed, hatred, and evil will know no escape or return. Sadism. You embrace the feeling of power over others, knowing there's no one in all of creation who could stand up to you, no matter what you do or how you abuse your unquestioned strength. In fact, rubbing their noses in it for sheer sadistic joy gives you quite a kick. You're villainous and you know it, not that there's anyone to stop you. You want power over people to make them feel weak, make people think what you want them to think, feel what you want them to feel. If anyone should defy you or speak out of turn, you'll make sure they're duly punished. Evil gives you a devilish sort of guilty pleasure, and with nothing in your way, why not indulge in it a little? Freedom. With the strength you possess, who would dare try to tell you what you want? You are free to do as you please with your might, and may choose to pursue or abandon any of the above goals, or others you may think of as you see fit. There is no law holding you to anything, and the only will you follow is your own. If you simply want to experiment with your powers, or if you want to freely toy with the world of mortals as you please, then you may do so with total recklessness. There are next to no consequences left that can affect you, so what matter is anything but your own good desire? Enlightenment. Rather than pursuing worldly goals and fruitless struggle, after your ascension you have decided to pursue ultimate and transcendent joy, independent of wealth, power, or other material circumstances. You simply seek to achieve permanent, lasting happiness, and to help others to reach this point, amassing wisdom that could cause even the most foolish of men to see peace and pursue self-actualization. Challenge. With the amount of power you've attained, it is only natural that you'd seek sufficient challenge and stimulation, and so you pursue further, more difficult ventures and opponents, always trying to test what you're fully capable of, hoping to extend these limits and grow as an individual through greater and greater odds. Perhaps you are uncontested in the verse, but that only beckons you to look beyond even infinity, to find greater and greater foes to face. Normalcy. Attaining this level of power might seem jarring, and may even shake the relative comfort of your normal life. Of course, that doesn't have to be the case. Feel free to don mundane clothing and withhold your cosmic godhood, only revealing your power for self-preservation or minor convenience. You refuse to allow your powers to consume you, and may even limit yourself to continue living normally. Either way, the life-changing consequences of having powers like yours are likely not so life-changing after all. Amaranth. Though you are nigh omnipotent in your own right, you can sense a higher state even than this, an enlightenment of enlightenments. There is a new story beyond this one, a new dream to be had, not by another, but by yourself. This state may require impossible efforts, but is attainable, given enough time. Once Amaranth, the ultimate enlightenment, is attained, you will be absolutely, transcendentally powerful, and unquestionably omnipotent. All worlds and narratives will be your stories, and you will supersede absolutely everything. Of course, you've got plenty of time before that. Prepare yourself as a proper vessel for the infinite. Spark powers. Of course, you must decide what monolithic powers you wield as a nigh omnipotent living god. While some powers require points to purchase, you are granted access to many powers for free. You may take or leave any free powers you desire. You may expend either Master Spark or Spark points within this section. Meta-immortality. 0. You are eternal and invincible on a metaphysical level, and your state of existence is beyond time, space, and causality, immune to harm from all conceivable sources, even of a metaphysical or abstract nature. You cannot die, even on a conceptual level, by any means at all. Along with eternal being, you also possess eternal agency. You cannot be bound, entrapped or otherwise, nor can your will and self be altered or manipulated. You will always have the full capability to do that which is your will to do, immunizing you from the effects of manipulation or restraint of any kind. Should the local universe, multiverse, omniverse, or even the verse itself, or all verses be compromised, you will continue to exist in spite of this, and, if you so choose, may remain unconscious and unaware of the passage of time until the natural forces of creation reconstitute existence. You are exempt from the negative side effects of living an infinite life, such as boredom, ennui, depression, mental instability, and so on. If those emotions or any other effects like them were to be caused by the fact that you live an eternal life. If you should ever wish to pass on from this life, you may do so freely and enter into an afterlife of your choosing, and may return to life whenever you should desire to, and, if you are so inclined, reincarnate into whatever form of natural life is fitting for you throughout the cosmos. You are eternally in your prime, are immune to the effects of age, and possess perfect mental and physical faculties, meaning that you will never lose your soundness of mind, or become unable to recall events from millions or billions of years ago. Eternal Ascension. 0. Until such time as you should attain Amaranth, the highest possible state of absolute omnipotence, you have infinite potential in all aspects and attributes, and grow in power at near infinite rates, which are constantly increasing at near infinite speeds. The speed at which your rate of progress towards Amaranth increases is also near infinite, and so on to a near infinite degree. Your ability to supersede, ascend, and overcome limitations of any kind is of the highest caliber in existence. It is impossible for you to degrade in power, and you are in a constant state of exponential progression towards omnipotence. When you lack sufficient strength to complete your endeavours, When you are defeated, or when you are otherwise impotent to your ends, you will evolve drastically to meet the challenges entailed to you. Your existing powers may grow to vastly different proportions and in numerous functionalities, and you will come to possess powers not presented to you here as you attain greater and greater heights of power. Even omnipotence, as you know it now, is not the upper boundary of your future capabilities. You are able to learn any powers, techniques, arts, masteries, and abilities with ease, even by mere observation, and possess prodigious talents of nigh infinite magnitude in your every endeavour and undertaking. Without exception, you have the greatest natural capacity for power in all of creation. Omnilock 0. Your existence is outside of and beyond creation, and thus is beyond the effects of any and all things. You have absolute and utter immunity against all threats against you, or anything which your being/mental encompasses. While you may possess a physical form that exists within the bounds of dimensions, time, space, form, comprehension, and so on, this avatar is not your true being. Your true existence is so vast and abstract that it defies and supersedes all physical, metaphysical, real and unreal boundaries and definitions, capable of surviving the death of all things, immune to all negative effects derived from a creation so below your godhead. Anything which is entailed by your mental exists in this way, and this may include anything which is subservient or attached to your person, a definition which is, for the most part, dictated by your interpretation. Unbound 0. You possess true and transcendent freedom from all authority and wills other than your own. Your self is inviolate and unchained by that which once abated you, good and evil, truth and lies, one and all. Because your self is inviolate, and you are thus unbound by causality, fate, the past, the present, or the future, there are no longer versions of yourself which exist in alternate worlds, times, or spaces, and you yourself encompass all that is and ever will be called you, making you a versal constant. You cannot have your ascent prevented via retroactive alteration through time travel or similar abilities, nor can you have your actions subverted in any way. Just as your self is inviolate, so too is your will. No thing can influence your decisions or desires, but your own will and pleasure. Your will is your own, and temptation, manipulation, irrationality, and the like will not inhibit it. Similarly, you are completely freed from negative emotions you do not wish to experience, and are unbound by physiological or biological factors in your well-being and personal state. You may experience whatever emotions or sensations you desire, and may adjust your mental and emotional state to whatever is desirable to you. Celestial Substance 0. The physical form which your abstract consciousness inhabits is now no longer composed of mundane physical matter, and has been revoked of all possible imperfection and defect. Because your body is one of celestial substance, you are unbound by all biological and physical limitations. You possess no physical needs, nor do you possess any biological compulsions, though you may experience and undertake any of these if you so desire. This form is a reflection of your ultimate and absolute self, and is astoundingly beautiful beyond the scope even of the most resplendent divine beings and mentals. Even your very blood is the flickering, gleaming fluid of distilled, metatextual meaning. Your form is that which embodies perfectly your higher self, and as a result may entail whatever features you deem appropriate. Similarly, whatever you may choose, your form will possess physical and intellectual prowess at the highest possible echelon for mortal life across the breadth of the verse. Emanation 0. Your presence is overwhelming when in full breadth, and you may convey your power and form with whatever effects are desirable, from blinding vivid lights to strange and surreal shapes and sounds antithetical to vision and hearing themselves. Depending on the degree to which you choose to reveal your true nature, this effect can range from subtle to mind-bendingly vast. The effect which your true nature has on others is dependent upon what aspects of your infinite self you choose to magnify, your overwhelming and impossible beauty, your vast and awe-inspiring power, your consummate and perfected wisdom, your abstract and incomprehensible nature, and so on. That given, the full comprehension of your complete and true form is likely to bring existential crisis, insanity, or even death, and so is inadvisable when these effects are not desirable. With this ability at your disposal, legions of bitter foes will bow in reverence at the slightest command. Followers will regard your word as infallible truth. Doubters will turn white with fear, and the want of innumerable amatory hearts will be your merest touch. Planeswalk 0. You have complete mastery over Locus, and may pass between higher and alternate dimensions, times, realms, universes, planes, worlds, spaces, and so on, even to extents beyond that of the verse's scope, or in the strange and surreal interspace between the structured cosmos. You have exact knowledge of your location, both temporal and spatial, with reference to the rest of existence, thus dramatically simplifying navigation in all but the most phantasmagorical planes and spaces. You are similarly capable of omnidirectional movement at truly unlimited speeds, allotting you flight and motion at speeds massively faster than light, sufficient to traverse metaphysical distances, or distances across lengths greater even than the concept of distance, instantaneously. Your form and mind are adaptive to whatever conditions you may encounter in alternate planes. You are capable of communication perfectly in any language or system, and you can easily adapt to strange and unknown cultures, traditions, and the like throughout your travels. You may use this ability to transport others and objects as you see fit similarly. Other, unmentioned minutiae of convenience for the purposes of versatile travel are included within this ability, opening portals and gateways, teleporting objects and individuals selectively, resolution of intertemporal paradoxes, and all that is requisite for complete ease of travel throughout the vast and unknowable cosmos. Power Matrix 0. Your powers are in an echelon above that of a point, and as such are perfected and refined in ways even the most perfectly aligned powers are not. They and your consciousness are one and the same, and as such cannot be altered, manipulated, or acted upon in any way by any force, such as in replication or dampening. Similarly, they operate without even the effect of a blink, and roil with their full power at your slightest whim, unabated by loss of focus, distraction, or any other factors. Because your powers are as much a part of you as your will is, you are aware of their every minutiae, limitation, and strategic value, and you possess absolute knowledge of their every facet and mechanic, with skill in wielding them at the level of one who has possessed them for truly infinite eternities and versatile cycles. It is impossible for your powers to ever operate in a way that is not conducive to your will and intent, and may act upon your will and intent even if you are unaware, such as preventing calamity in far-off dimensions that will be undesirable to you. A number of other enhancements of convenience are included within this ability, such as manifesting your powers in whatever aesthetic capacity is desirable to you, immunity to the effects of powers of a lower magnitude than your own, fine-tuned control of how much of your full power you allow yourself to use at a time, and so on, all to the effect of enhancing and easing the usage of your powers as much as possible. Subtle. One such as yourself, just as you may wish to be known, so too may wish to be unknown. At will, you may become undetectable by any means whatsoever, in any selective capacity, along with your actions. This includes detection through such means as future sight, divination, omniscient awareness, calculation, or any other more varied means of detection, along with sensory detection. You may selectively revoke knowledge of your actions, of yourself, or of anything else as you see fit. Similarly, you are capable of revoking or reversing the effects of any of your powers at will, in whatever capacity and to whatever degree is desirable. And the total effect of this ability allows you complete privacy, and welcome freedom from the detrimental consequences of your actions, errors of judgment, or brash misuse of your abilities. Few things are consequential to one as yourself. Master 0. As is tradition with many beings of your caliber, servants, under the incentive of your divine power, will seek to serve you dutifully and do your will. Often heroes of legendary prowess who wish to champion your cause, other deities in need of the protection of your wing, or even religious figures leading your worship. You may bestow any powers you possess, in whatever capacity and to whatever degree you deem appropriate, to others. Much like under the effects of Power Matrix, your abilities operate unconsciously in accordance with your will. Any powers which you bestow upon others will also function in accordance with your will unconsciously, and will naturally cease to function if the individual wielding them acts outside of your will or otherwise. Mortals will pine after your favours with rabid fervour, in the pursuit of both your approval and the chance at eternal life, vast mystical skill, or other powers you possess, and will gladly do your continual bidding, whatever that may entail, to retain them. True Anointed. 0. Your ascension entails a vast understanding of the underlying mechanics of the meta-narrative, in whatever form that may take. As a result, you possess ultimate and transcendent wisdom, as if you had existed since the beginning of creation itself, before all versal cycles, at the stirrings of the complete ad deus, with all the knowledge such a life would entail. That upon which existence stands, along with innumerable, unimaginable secrets attained over unimaginable eons, are all within your repertoire of prior knowledge. You are a living repository of infinite wisdom, the ancient knowledge of the verse funneled into your mind at the instant of your ascent. Though you are not omniscient, you are like a true messianic figure, enlightened to the deepest secrets existence and life have to offer. Timeless. 0. Your existence and origin is not bound by time in the slightest. You may decide the point in time at which you came into existence, how long you have existed, and so on, whenever you see fit to alter these. As a result, the prevention of your ascent is impossible, given that it could feasibly have occurred before you even existed, or could have simply occurred in a time impossible to intrude upon. You may retroactively decide how long you have lived, alter your previous activities based upon knowledge you gain in future activities, alter your future activities based upon knowledge you gain in prior activities, and so on. The boundary of time is all but non-existent for one as yourself. Absolute Condition. 4. Your body and its movements are completely under your control. This means you can move omnidirectionally at literally immeasurable speeds, lift an infinite amount of weight, resist forces in an infinite variety and scale, and punch with an infinite amount of force. If ever tested, you would be capable of lifting up the entire verse on both physical and conceptual levels. Forces mean nothing to your body, allowing you to remain unmoved and unaltered, even when assaulted with forces capable of ripping universes apart. Your body's position, condition, and ability to be affected by any and all alterations is entirely yours. This also allows for teleportation, unlimited shapeshifting, self-personality altering, and any other abilities entailed by complete control of your own personal condition. You may take on forms that defy imagination, such as becoming a body made of time itself, or a mimetic entity. Every facet of yourself is fully under your control, aside obviously from what powers you have and things of that sort, meaning you cannot grant yourself powers of any kind using this ability. You are granted martial and combat techniques that are perfected and nigh unstoppable within your body's range of motion. The only limitation to this ability is what degree of force you are accustomed to using, though this can always be exceeded if desirable. Power Architect. 4. You have the ability to manipulate powers and abilities themselves, allowing you to know the powers and effects of your adversary. Grant yourself essentially any power, of a strength lower than these abilities or this ability. Grant powers to others or yourself. Alter the functionality and specifications of powers, and any other, more varied manipulations such as nullifying, absorbing, strengthening, or weakening powers. These abilities also allow you to cultivate other abilities you already possess in terms of scale, including this one up to a certain point. This and other limits on this power can be pushed as you develop your abilities. Grant yourself and others the ability to fly at light speed, time travel, read minds, or lift planets with ease. Your only real limitation is that the powers you deal with must have a limited scale, unlike other powers available here. For instance, you could create matter manipulation on a limited scale, but never at the unlimited scale of omnikinesis, and so forth. Nearly any reasonably limited power is available to you, allowing you to grant yourself telepathy, enhanced durability, superior intelligence, and so forth, but not on the absurd, unlimited scale of the other abilities available here. Omnikinesis. 6. You are capable of altering, manipulating, creating, and destroying matter, energy, space, time, quantum particles, and other concrete physical mediums such as these, at any scale you desire, as well as altering physical laws, constants, properties, and so forth without scalar limits. This allows you to traverse time, space, and other higher dimensions as you please, across any distance or barrier. By altering physical laws on yourself and others, you may become intangible, alter your physiology, and so forth. All of these may be manipulated in higher dimensions similarly, and you may create personal dimensions, universes, and other constructs, as implied by the above. Energy manipulation allows you to fire blasts of energy at any scale or destructive capability desired. Matter manipulation allows you to alter and create biological lifeforms, and so forth. Metamagus. 6. You have absolute knowledge of all magic, and all permutations of magic, whether divine in scale or otherwise, and are capable of casting any spell, invoking any power, and so on as you desire, at a level completely unmatched throughout the cosmos. You know and are capable of every application of magic. The scale of your mystical prowess is unmatched anywhere in all of creation, and you are the strongest magic user in existence. You are in fact so adept at the usage of magic on godlike scales, that you control what magic itself entails, how it is used, and how far its limits may be pushed. Your supply of mystical energies is absolutely unlimited, and you are capable of easily inventing new permutations, systems, and usages for magic as you see fit. Essentially, you are granted full authority over all things mystic and arcane, and may alter the nature of magic to suit your needs. You don't need magic. Magic needs you. Reality warping. 6. The most broad of these abilities, the ability to rewrite what is real, has a huge number of applications, from vast spatial distortions to rewriting memories and circumstances. Reality warping is achieved by overlapping and projecting the contents of alternate universes, circumstances, timelines, and so on, throughout infinite possibilities to produce desired results. However, this ability has certain distinct limits. The user cannot make alterations to or concerning beings of a power equal to or greater than them, or powers in general, meaning that they cannot use reality warping to give themselves other modes of transcendence, or other powers. They cannot make alterations to objects or persons who are considered versal constants, because they exist only in a single reality. This includes yourself. Reality warping is dependent upon the existence of an alternate universe, timeline, or other reality, which may be projected over your current one, meaning that if an event is impossible throughout the entire verse, or has not happened in any timeline, then reality warping may not be used to make it occur. The latter is likely the most debilitating of these, especially due to the fact that there is only one version of yourself throughout the verse. Because you have not yet done it, for instance, there is no reality you may overlap with your current one to conquer the multiverse instantly. However, because there is feasibly a multiverse where key worlds, galaxies, and planes have been laid waste by other cosmic warlords, it would be child's play to overlap that reality with your own, and make use of others' labour. You are granted full knowledge on how these worlds will overlap, and what timelines, realities, and so on are available to you. World Mind. 4. Your intellect is absolute and unquestioned. Every facet of your mind is literally infinite in capacity, making your memory and computational power completely without equal. You have the greatest mind in all of creation, exceeding even the Master God. You are nigh omniscient, capable of discerning every atom of existence simply from outside observation, and can sense all things and events at once in full breadth. Your psychic and psionic abilities are absolute, being so vast as to be capable of creating your own mental verse in your head, if you so desired. No mind is outside your control, no object too large to be fundamentally altered by your telekinesis. You are capable of every imaginable psychic and psionic feat and ability, in full capacity, easily ripping consciousness itself apart, or mind-controlling massive populations and swaths of the verse. You can create illusions indiscernible from reality, warp people's sense of time, or generate psychokinetic constructs and entities with ease. You are intelligent enough to perform block-form high-order mathematics in your head, capable of altering space and time itself by sheer calculative effort and other such feats. Consciousness itself prostrates before you. No technology, design, or technique is beyond your mental and creative abilities. Anomaly. 6. Your power allows you to manipulate anomalies, holes in the nature of reality. This applies not only to the creation of anomalous, impossible objects, but also conceptual manipulations as well. You can make entire planets indestructible by imbuing them with an impossible anomaly, could alter the concept of distance itself to reach far-off locations, or could easily rip apart the laws of physics in whatever way you see fit. You are the master of phenomenons, easily breaking every restriction, law and definition as you see fit. Even concepts like love, meaning, description, and so on are under your control. The main limitation of this ability is that it is not scientific in nature. That is, it deals strictly in the impossible and anomalous, and such that tasks like transmuting matter, or other changes which deal in the physical laws of the universe or concrete existence, are not encompassed by this ability. Causality 5. You have control over the effects of actions and the procession of events, allowing you to control causality and fate itself, past, present, and future. The most obvious application of this will be to make fate ordain your success in all your endeavours. The only limitation upon this ability is that, the broader your goals, the further off you must ordain them. While diverting enemy attacks or causing large armies to implode on themselves is child's play, altering vast swaths of history may take significant time, and altering the grand web of fate to an ultimate objective like controlling the verse may take absurd lengths to properly arrange. Of course, the length of time required to alter causality will decrease exponentially as you grow more powerful and are able to alter larger and larger outcomes, and small casual events, such as diverting massive attacks by a critical mass, causing your enemies to incidentally collide with a black hole, etc., are almost universally instantaneous. You have both path to victory and the power to make those futures certain without lifting a finger. Nothing 6. You have the ability to nullify nearly anything, be it concepts, matter, the actions of others, deaths, futures, or more. Your ability to erase things from existence is absolutely unparalleled and nearly unlimited, making you a walking machine of utter and endless annihilation. Wave your hand and erase vast swaths of the verse, or reserve yourself to annihilating what you don't like about creation, carving it in your image. You cannot erase non-existence to create things, nor can these powers be used to create anything at all through any means. However, they may restore anything you have erased if you so desire. You can nullify time around your opponents, nullify motion, nullify life itself, or nullify powers. You can erase resistance, rebellion, and freedom from your empire, if you so desire. If you wish, you can make this annihilation process excruciatingly painful beyond what is naturally possible. However, you cannot nullify beings of a higher power than yourself, and cannot nullify other powers protected by power fluff, or things protected by omnilock or meta-immortality. Those powers being reserved for this choose your own adventure, so they likely won't be a problem. However, you may nullify the effects of their attacks easily, such as erasing energy bolts, or psychic forces with a snap. Presence 3. Rather than being a universal constant that is singular, you may be everywhere, in all times and all places at once. You may act in the past to affect change in the future, or in the future to ascertain events therein. You may decide what constitutes you without limit, and may control yourself as you generally see fit. However, the larger the area which is delegated as you, the less control over individual facets of yourself you may control. For instance, delegating an entire planet and its inhabitants as yourself, and thus controlling the populace and the natural events of the planet as easily as moving a finger, is child's play, but doing the same for the whole verse will render your control exceedingly subtle and minimal. This ability is extremely powerful for scouting, gathering information and taking control of people or objects as you see fit. At the highest level, this power is capable of unifying your being with all things and becoming a collective unimind, in perfect control of every facet of yourself. Of course, this will take time to achieve, but would allow for true omnipresence. Restructure 4. You are capable of restructuring the verse in a huge variety of ways. The verse is generally structured into planes, universes, dimensions, and so forth, but you may freely tear apart this original architecture and implant your own designs. Allowing the outside to bleed into existence, forcing persons and objects to be versal constants like yourself, or even merging lower dimensions into higher ones, is possible to surreal and broad effect. For instance, merging the dimensions of time and distance together could make walking in a straight line move you forward through time itself, or turning a planet into a plane will make it extend infinitely in all directions, in its own personal pocket of creation. Erecting barriers between universes that restrict travel, connecting dimensions together through vast openings in space-time, and so on, are easily within your capabilities. The architecture on which existence stands is merely a suggestion to you. Alchemical Arbiter 6. You are the master of the metaphysical aspects and Platonic forms with which an object or concept is described. This power is extremely esoteric, even by the standards set by other powers within this listing, but in the hands of one skilled in its execution, it is also one of the most fundamentally powerful. You control not the physical existence of the object or concept which you manipulate, but the very essence of it. In a simple manipulation, you can maximize the conceptual aspect of beauty across existence, causing all things to become consummately aesthetically pleasing on a metaphysical level. In a more complex manipulation, you could change the very concept of time into a solid object in the palm of your hands, as easily manipulated as physical matter. Freely and arbitrarily determine the colors of space, the weight of mass itself, the darkness of light, or even more abstract concepts like morality, consciousness, and information as you see fit. All aspect and description is beneath your divine edict. Heaven King 3. You are the arbiter of souls in the afterlife. You can instantly kill any mortal by ripping their soul from their body, and can control every minutiae of their fate, whether in eternal torment, everlasting bliss, or otherwise. You decide exactly what plane, dimension, or world their soul will rest upon, and may set them free or bind them as you see fit. The dead and the unborn are at your slightest whims or commands. Create an entire afterlife for your dedicated followers, and damn your foes to eternal fire for opposing you. Similarly, you may return or give anyone life at will, by rebinding their soul to their body, decide who is allowed to reincarnate and what they will reincarnate into, and so forth. At the promise of salvation, mortals will do nearly anything, and at the threat of damnation they will serve at even the most extreme demands. Custom design as many afterlives as is pleasing to you, and customize the criteria to enter them as you see fit. Spectrum 4. If there are any powers which you desire that are not specifically achievable through a permutation of the above powers, you may specify them and take them as you desire. You may take up to a dozen minor powers if they are of a sufficiently lower tier than the above, or take one if they are of equal tier to the above. Abilities of a higher tier than the above, such as omnipotence, omniscience, and other truly almighty powers, are not available using Spectrum. Time travel is a function of omnikinesis, and path to victory is a function of casual lord, so neither of these could be taken using Spectrum. This obviously does not include power manipulation, as low potency abilities can simply be granted to yourself using with only light boundaries of what you may choose it. That is, in essence, a catch-all if you have a desire to deviate from these powers, allowing you to create your own as you generally see fit, with only a few prerequisites. You must always possess distinctive limitations. Master Spark Powers. These powers are those allotted by attainment of the Master Spark, that state which is at the precipice of all power. The powers of a spark pale in comparison to the sheer magnitude of power entailed by the Master Spark, despite the former being absurdly powerful of itself. Only in the time before the formation of creation as it now exists, at the burgeoning of that Deus, has a Master Spark existed. If you have chosen a spark other than an inferno of supremacy, choosing an ability from among these will leave it in waiting until you attain the Master Spark. You may only choose a future Master Spark ability if you have a power which is preordained to evolve into it. If you already possess a Master Spark, you may purchase these abilities directly. These powers are nigh omnipotent in scale, but uniformly possess limitations. However small those limitations may be, you may expend only Master Spark points in this section. Nos Omnibus 4. Your mind is completely unlocked and infinite, without even the limitation of thought itself imposed upon your mental faculties. You are truly completely omniscient, without limit or flaw. Your absolute mind entails mastery of dark sciences and divine technologies, exceeding by far developments in any times and any verses. Mechanical and alchemical constructs result in the very structure of the verse itself. Starships which employ weaponry that threatens the highest gods, and computational monoliths which can calculate planes and dimensions into existence, are all as primitive sticks and rocks to you. Because of your absolute and infinite mental prowess, you are capable of psychic and psionic feats of absolutely unlimited scale and near infinite variety. You may easily control or read the minds of every entity in existence simultaneously, psychokinetically, more space and time, create and alter consciousness on an archetypical level, and perform mathematical operations which by sheer calculative complexity can warp dimensions and the laws of creation as we know them. Your mind could create an infinite number of mental verses, as if it were nothing, and crush entire planes of existence like cans with but a psychic twitch. Evolution of World Mind. Verse Weaver. 5. Your understanding of the nature and structure of planes and that which interlinks them has allotted you absolute creative powers, like those which brought about the verse as it exists now. By your whim you may create utterly anything, even to the scale of entire verses beyond our own, molded to the magnification of your splendor. This power is over creation, and not destruction. You may create without limitation, but cannot destroy through any means using these abilities, other than to revoke that which you create. Limitless potential dimensions, personal artifacts and objects of value, vast construct armies, and entire multiverses formed to your liking are all easily within your power, and the scalar limitation of the infinite verse is as easily violable by your simple will. That which you create is not limited by your understanding, imagination, or any other factors. That which you will to be created is created, regardless of these factors. That which you do not personally detail will be implemented as if you had detailed it. Evolution of Restructure. Heaven King. Spark Artifice. 5. You have the absolute power to alter state, quality, quantity, attribute, and so on of any existing concept, entity, object, or force, including powers themselves. That is, you can grant yourself and others any conceivable powers and attributes up to and including those of the nigh infinite magnitude of spark powers such as omnikinesis, world mind, and so on. This in itself constitutes nigh omnipotence in the sheer variety of powers you may design for yourself, lacking in any scalar limitations whatsoever, being powers born of your enlightenment. That said, these powers cannot reach the heights of Master Spark powers, being so infinitely superior that only the original spark of Amaranth within you could drive you to the Master Spark you have attained. Their might is thus irreplicable. As much as these are valuable, you possess a complete mastery over meaning itself, on a metaphysical level. The fundamental attributes and elements from which even metaphysical concepts arise bow to your artifice. You do not merely manipulate the matter and quantities with which the object of your control is concerned. You fundamentally alter the force of being upon which the reality of a given object stands. All is as your effigy. All is as your attribution states it to be. The very machinations of the ad and sub deus, the dead gods of entity and existence, are beneath your command. Evolution of Alchemical Arbiter. Spectrum. Power Architect. Perfection. 4. You have attained existential, philosophical, personal perfection in all existing aspects. Thus you are omnicompetent, and your overmind, physical form, and metaphysical spirit are absolute and infinite in every beneficial capacity. With a flick of your finger, your physical strength could rip an infinite number of verses asunder. With the slightest mental exertion, you could deduce the solution to any conceivable inquiry, and no physical or metaphysical forces are capable of bringing even the slightest harm to you. You have absolutely no weaknesses or detrimental traits whatsoever, and represent the highest conceivable state of being. That which constitutes your being is in accordance with your whim, and so you may be, conceptually speaking, anything which you see fit to be, without any limitations. You may embody the verse itself, or the concepts of space and time, or even the unified overmind presiding over all conscious life. Your endeavors are universally successful, and you are incapable of failure. However, because your perfection is as yet distinct from the imperfection of creation itself, this state is not yet Amaranth. It may be seen as a kind of contained omnipotence centered inward. Evolution of absolute condition. Presence. Prime Megistus. 6. The primordial anomalies of magic are revealed to you, and you have attained mastery of magic on a nigh omnipotent scale, without limitation on the impossible sorceries you may wield with a flash of your power. Your magic is not merely unrivaled, it is infinite and without compassion. You tap into the enigma at the core of sorcery itself on a metaphysical level, allowing you to control the cryptic forces of secrets and enigmas themselves, along with the magic that stems from them. As a consequence, you wield complete control over the archetypical force both of magic and secret, sorcery and anomaly, as one and the same, capable of literally any application of magic, realized or as yet unknown, as well as utter and undiluted mastery over anomaly, without limitation. The nature of magic and anomaly await your will, and complete mastery over their every conceivable or inconceivable permutation is within your grasps, your knowledge of their underpinnings omniscient. You have full and unlimited authority over magic and anomaly throughout all verses on a nigh omnipotent scale. If inclined, this supreme and primordial power of anomaly could mold the verse, or even beyond, in accordance with your whim. Under the mantle of Prime Megistus, you are the supreme authority over all anomaly, mastery, secrets, and magic throughout all verses, and are tasked with maintaining and uncovering further the secrets of almighty magic. Evolution of anomaly. Metamagus. Supreme Logos. 6. The bones of the world are by revelation the work of your hands. You are the incarnate law. You possess complete and absolute mastery over all physical mediums, all things real, and all the structures and interweavings of all times and spaces, and even that which dictates them. You have the full ability to manipulate logic and pataphysics themselves, and the separations between the real and the unreal are under your will only. While you are easily capable of full manipulation of matter, energy, quanta, time, space, and dimensions to create entire multiverses or realities with but the slightest will, you are also capable of manipulating what is real on a fundamental, metaphysical level, in such applications as determining what does and does not exist, redefining what is possible, etc. The very structure of existence is within your grasps. You may overlap and interweave alternate dimensions and universes without limit or flaw. You embody the metaphysical law, and may determine what this entails, whether individually or broadly, as you see fit. If inclined, you could feasibly create your own verse outside of the bounds of this one, completely under your iron law's command. Under the mantle of Supreme Logos, you are the primordial arbiter of the concept of law and certitude, and thus control reality, physics and time-space throughout all verses, and are tasked with the retainment of the law as you see fit, throughout the cosmos at large. Evolution of reality warping. Omnikinesis. Grand Opus. 6. You are the true master of causality, capable of fine-tuned control of the result of any action, regardless of scale, from ordaining grand decade-spanning destinies and prophecies, to simply causing a snap of your fingers to result in complete success in any endeavors. The result of any given action is in accordance with your will, and the aggregate procession of destiny in all its fullness is your plaything. You have come to the full realization that will itself is a lie, or will but your own, that is, which determines all events. Along with the complete ability to determine all actions throughout all time and space, you have knowledge of all possible futures, and all past and present events, and understand deeply the interweaving of causal strings. Events in all pasts, all presents, and all futures await your determination. Your will is literally conductive to the result of any given endeavor. If inclined, you could alter destiny to such a degree that creation itself would be merely a reflection of your arbitration. Under the mantle of Grand Opus, you are the judge of all fates and destinies throughout all verses, and are tasked with the permutation of causality itself. Evolution of causality. Ex nihilo. 6. You are a fundamental non-entity to your very core, a proverbial hole in the meta-narrative of existence itself. Your being is incomprehensible and of itself. You were not created by the amaranth of your verse at its beginning, but exist outside of creation and external origin, like a nightmare who dreams itself into existence, intruding on the nocturnal sanctuary of another. You are the undiluted destroyer, and may wipe absolutely anything from existence, but beings such as yourself. You do not merely destroy, you are capable of retroactively annihilating things with such force that they never existed in the first place, tearing apart existence on the highest conceivable level. To challenge you is like a character in a story trying to combat the burning of the book which he resides in. You are a threat to the very concept of being itself. The erasure of non-existence or aspects to create a new carved existence are possible, though the result always nets a lesser degree of existence on a metaphysical level, and so no new thing is created by this process. If you so much as desired it, creation itself would crumble before you like wet paper. Under the mantle of ex nihilo, you are the fundamental force of non-existence which pervades all things, and as such are tasked with the destruction of that which you see fit to destroy. What that entails is under your discretion. Evolution of nothing. Resources. Of course, for your purposes, you must have some resources to start on your dread path. Any of these can be acquired with enough effort on your part, but for convenience and time's sake, it's a wise idea to take some to establish yourself. You are not required to purchase any of these. This section, as well as the relations section, utilize resource points, master spark points, or spark points. Wealth. 1. You have access to multiple vaults, vast cosmic stores of wealth designed to house the fortunes of ancient civilizations securely, until the rightful owner might claim them. This entails 9 limitless supplies of rare gems, metals and materials, precious jewelry and antiques, as well as near limitless stores of all variety of inter-universal currencies, such as pearls, credits, gold coins, and so forth. The wealth stored within is so vast as to be the net worth of thousands of universes, or roughly 20% to 30% of the verse's currently produced wealth, capable of easily purchasing personal galaxies, pocket dimensions, powerful magitech, potent substances, and any number of slaves you could wish for. The vaults slowly grow in size and capacity over time, filling with exponentially greater riches in relation to how much you expend, so that you always have enough wealth to purchase essentially whatever you require. Inflation or other economic constraints will never cause the wealth of your vaults to diminish by excessive spending. You can easily turn a massive profit by investing in mining operations, Dyson spheres, planetary conquests, black markets, and more to become a powerful mogul and economic force throughout the verse. No one can access the vault but you, and you may access its resources at any time. The riches of 10,000 universes are at your disposal, and will only grow with time. If you have collections or any other extraplanar storage facilities, these may be merged at your discretion. If you already have an idea of what you wish to spend some of this wealth on, you may specify as you desire. Note that currency created using any powers or permutations of powers are fundamentally invalid, and generally as valuable as counterfeit. None of the items on this list of resources may be purchased using the supply of wealth, though this does not apply to funds acquired through other ventures, meaning that, for investment and business, you may acquire funds applicable to these ends. Harems. 1. You are presented with as many ideal partners, wives, husbands, slaves, or the like as you may desire. In number, they can range from one dedicated romantic interest to 10 to 10 billion or more, and you may possess as many harems as is desirable to you. All of them will be exceedingly attractive in accordance with your preferences, appealing in personality and character, and so forth. The full breadth of the verse is available for you to pull from, meaning that even the most unusual or minute characteristics and preferences are not out of the question, nor specific individuals, copies of distinct individuals, and so forth. Anyone from any conceivable reality may be your potential partner. They are all intensely loyal towards you, worshipfully devoted and obedient, their only desire being to please and comfort you, obviously being helplessly attracted to you as well. They may serve as your doting attendants, wives, husbands, or what have you. Any mundane skills you may desire them to possess, such as musical ability, athletic prowess, or otherwise, are available, though they may not have powers of any kind unless they are bestowed through power manipulation. It is impossible for they or anyone else who is added to your harems to disobey you, or do anything but seek out your best interest and favour, both of these being done naturally or willingly. You possess absolute unquestioned charisma and attractiveness, and are by far the most compelling lover in the verse, making the process of adding others to your harems as easy as telling or propositioning them to join, though even this is not often required. This includes any characters or factions in the relations section that are not your foes. Traits such as absolute loyalty, worshipful adoration, and undeniable compulsion to please you will be given to any who you induct formally. Upon joining your harems, the inductee will gain meta-immortality, perfect form, and bliss, all of which you control in expression, function, and usage on them. Any of these may be revoked or bestowed at any time, should you desire, along with status as being a member of your harems. If you should require more partners of any variety, number, or specification, they can be brought to you by the current members of your harems without much hassle, or can easily be found by sheer serendipity. For the purposes of offspring, you may decide every facet and minutiae of this process should you choose to have children. No one and nothing can interfere with, or otherwise molest your harems for any reason, and they are protected from any influences or persons but yourself. Obviously, if you desire only one ideal and loving partner, or simply wish to have the option open for later consideration, these are also available. Armies 1. At your disposal is a vast, self-sustaining and replenishing army of super-elite soldiers, equipped with the most powerful technology, magic, superpowers, starships, and so on in the local verse. Who and what composes this army are up to your discretion. Perhaps an armada of vastly intelligent androids, or perhaps a long-preserved race of ancient warriors, awaiting their true leader for millennia. Whatever the case may be, your forces outclass any prominent empire in the verse tenfold, and are unstoppably armed to the teeth with every imaginable resource, trained to hardened perfection. If your entire army is reduced to nothing, they are capable of being replenished, given due time to lick wounds, a task which your forces are capable of quickly and efficiently. Means to produce and maintain any weapon systems or fleets you may want are available, and this may be done on massive scales. Only the full might of every major empire in the verse could stand up to even half of your crushing armada. All of your armies are fully and totally loyal to you, to the point of death, and will serve your every whim without complaint, to the fullest extent of their abilities. Your armies may grow exceedingly quickly if you have need of even greater forces, but they require time to increase their amassed strength. Collection 1. You have come into possession of vast untouched collections containing a variety of exceedingly rare and legendary valuables. This includes unique mystical artifacts in droves, ancient technology that can be adapted to your purposes, rare and precious materials found nowhere else, legendary pieces of art and sculpture long thought to be destroyed, mighty starcrafts, artificial stars, and exalted weapons heard of only in legend. These are all stored in an endless extraplanar museum, which only you may have access to. Exploring further into the depths of this facility will reveal still more varied treasures and artifacts in literally endless variety. Note, however, that each item within is one of a kind, so no artifact within should be treated as disposable, even if you have a limitless variety to choose from. Searching for a specific lost artifact or legendary material will usually cause you to find it with ease, if it has ever existed in the first place. You may add to this collection as you see fit. If you have vaults or any other extraplanar storage facilities, these may be merged at your discretion. Mega Worlds 1. While most mundane planets are only capable of housing 10 to 20 billion occupants, a megaworld is a monolithic artificial planet designed to house small percentages of the verse in capacity, serving as vast metropolises and hubs for trade, war, and industrial production, making use of terraforming and mystical constructs to create habitable environments, flora, fauna, and cityscapes in ideal locations where important resources are abundantly available. Most of the prominent empires within the verse typically have one serving as their capital, with the most affluent among them having up to 5. You now possess full control over a dozen. The environments, life forms, climate, government, and societies of all these worlds are entirely up to your discretion and customization, and they can never fall out of your jurisdictional control, nor can they be conquered by other empires. Wherever you place one of these worlds, no matter their proximity to one another, they will exist in corners of the cosmos rich with rare and valuable materials, abundant power sources, and possess the conditions necessary to support vast traffic and trade. They are capable initially of supporting absurd numbers of citizens, but can be expanded freely as your populations grow. Each one is assured to be a utopian, supernal paradise, perfect for housing your personal palaces and citadels, more beautiful than any world before, a veritable heaven on earth. Not only this, but they are assured to produce vast wealth, trade and commerce, which you may freely profit from through taxation and tariffs or statutory edicts to your preference. Any poverty, turmoil or other problems that arise can be easily dealt with or will outright fix themselves promptly, unless you should, willfully, exasperate them. You are also granted the capacity to lead and rule over these worlds fully, efficiently, and without any discrepancy. Territory 1. Splitting the pie of creation is the point of some of the most vicious contention in the verse, each glittering star worth its weight in blood. Even the most prominent empires in creation do not control but 5% of its breadth, given how utterly vast an undertaking conquest of that scale is. To give you a head start on this endeavour, your empire controls a whopping 20% of the verse outright. Given that nearly 40% of the verse remains unconquered, your stake in the war games is greater than any other. This includes full dictatorial hegemony over all the occupants of your territory, access to all of the resources, infrastructure and technology therein, and the capacity to govern such a massive empire at full efficiency without any personal hiccups. By laying claim to such a massive territory, you solidify it as your permanent empire, meaning this and any other portions of the verse you expand into cannot be reconquered or claimed by another without your consent. Your rule over this and other territories you come to control is unquestioned, and betrayal is either unthinkable or fruitless for the betrayer. Cultivating this territory to your liking in terms of business, production, government, trade and so on will require your decision and judgment throughout numerous planes, dimensions, and galactic superclusters. How your governance is organized, how your administration will expend and draw funds, and so forth, are all up to your discretion. You are an inusurpable God King. Alliances 1. Upon your ascent, several prominent empires and beings have come to view you as a powerful ally, and will seek your favour by aiding you in your goals. Choose a number of allies equal to double the number of foes you take, and these groups or beings will be definitely loyal to you, generous trade partners and great assets to your aims. If you should be in dire need, or should require their aid in essentially any capacity, they will gladly come in full force to your assistance. They may request the same of you, but you are not required to aid them if you do not wish, and they will hold no grudge for this act on your part. While they are not willing to give you their possessions, worlds or territories for free, they are perfectly willing to trade these in exceedingly generous exchanges, or to give them as gifts in the hopes of garnering your favour. They will naturally have your best interests at heart, and will hope that you feel the same way. Any expressions of further alliance, friendship or closeness or relationship between you will be greeted with the utmost joy and reciprocation, wishing only to strengthen the bonds between you as much as possible, in any way. Technology 1. You have access to mystical and scientific constructs, designs and systems, only dreamed of by the rest of the verse. High-order mathematics, source cores, Hyperion veils, mass relocators and more, along with all their designs, are both given to you in an extra-dimensional storage facility, and injected directly into your mind, granting you perfect knowledge of their inner workings, and how to further expand upon them to points of parity. If you have ever wanted weapons capable of annihilating the entire Virgo supercluster with a single blast, or the means to cut and design the constellations in your image, or mystical tech capable of generating populations of billions of intensely loyal artificial humanoids, this choice will serve you well. Your prospective technology will outclass even the most mighty sciences of ancient times, much less the means of today. Your opponents will be as if primitive animals by comparison to your vast advancements. Fill your worlds with the means to produce limitless supplies of valuable resources, eliminate hunger entirely from the genes of your populace, or ruthlessly crush your foes with superviruses that sway their armies to bend the knee before you. If you have vaults or other extra-dimensional storage facilities, these may be combined and organized according to your preference. Sway 1. You will hold a high and respected position, whether in multiversal councils, pantheons of deities, the center of a massive religious following, a member of a highly influential group, or otherwise. Whatever the case may be, your words and opinions have weight throughout the entire verse, If not directly, then by opinion. In whatever group you should choose, you are certainly the most influential and powerful. You are of the highest castes in all societies, ubiquitously respected and revered among your peers. Your charisma and position are undeniable, and opinions of you are naturally high. Fame and renown are yours. Expect to be treated highly wherever you go, nearly to the point of worship and fanaticism. Of course, if these become troublesome, or you want to be unseen, your wishes will be respected. Personal plane. 1. You possess a personal plane of existence, in which you are absolutely, truly omnipotent, and fully omniscient concerning the scope and events within it. This plane is completely infinite, and in theory the entire verse could be simulated within it for testing or entertainment, if you really wanted to. You may invite others to this place freely, and take any items you desire with you, but any changes you make to outside objects or persons, including yourself, will be nullified and restored to their original condition, unless done without the use of your planar omnipotence, in the case of training, retaining new information, etc. You cannot take anything constructed using your planar omnipotence outside. Everything within your personal plane is real as anything outside. It just can't leave with you. This is a perfect place to construct your infinite palaces, test military strategies, develop and study new technologies, explore and push the boundaries of your powers, or entertain yourself and guess with whatever your hearts desire. You could even declare this plane the capital of your empire, and transport your populations within, or use it to maintain your standing military. You may transport yourself, anyone, and any of your possessions you desire into this space, though other ascendants such as yourself may leave at any time they desire. Any other extra-dimensional storage, such as vaults, may be combined with this one, as you see fit. Perfect vessel. 1. Someone of your caliber naturally has to fly in style. While you are almost certainly capable of transporting yourself vast distances, perhaps even instantaneously, the flair of riding with your compatriots, dignitaries and attendants in truly consummate comfort is irreplaceable. You are given full access to a legendary artifact vehicle known as a perfect vessel, a spacecraft designed with such divine attention to detail as to be without flaw entirely, like a rare cosmic jewel in superiority, one of perhaps 5 or 6 in the verse. What this entails is up to you. This craft may ship between any desirable form and functions, from a megalithic solar system-sized space station to a palace craft with internal gardens and atriums. Whatever the case may be, it is controlled by a ruthlessly loyal emergent AI, which adapts to your preferences and desires, learning what you like and dislike, what weapon systems are effective and ineffective, and so on. This vessel is obviously indestructible by conventional methods, equipped with vast modular weapon systems, and can shift to any size that is desirable to you. Functions and facilities that are unsatisfactory to you can easily be upgraded or outright added or replaced through the ship's modular interiors, utilizing block-form high-order mathematics to alter technological functions on board. Technology you have researched, developed, or possess yourself may be integrated onto this craft seamlessly. Palace World. While megaworlds are designed to house populations, trade and commerce, a palace world is purely a luxury item. Unlike megaworlds, you may only have one palace world, but this world may be of nearly any size desirable to you, so long as it isn't large enough to disrupt the natural structure of the verse. A palace world is an artificial planet designed to the exact specifications of the Orderer, down to the most minute detail, usually for an absurd price. This includes personal estates, and any other amenities on the surface, biologically custom flora, fauna and populations, planetary temperatures and climate, atmospheric densities and much more. Entire races and species may be custom built from the ground up on your palace world if you so desire. If you wish, your palace may extend from pole to pole of the world, spanning millions of miles or light years, depending on the size of your planet. If expansions, alterations or removals are required, these may be requested and promptly fulfilled by the megacorporation, which provided you your palace world, if alterations cannot be made for your powers. And this is a perfect place to use as a base of operations and leisure zone, fit with every imaginable comfort and pleasure, from beautiful silver hills to glowing flowers in the night. Relations. Your place in the cosmos is yet to be determined. Who are your allies? Only your peers may be taken as foes. Take 3 allies freely, and take another 2 allies for every foe you choose. If you have taken alliances as a resource, take 2 allies from each individual section freely, and take another 3 allies for each foe you choose. Subordinates. The Emissary. Political, economic, and interpersonal matters are obviously below you. Your focus should be on your own personal goals, not petty political disputes between empires, or the inflation rates on distant irrelevant worlds. The Emissary serves to alleviate all of these concerns to free up your time and energy as much as possible. They will serve as a representative for your interest in all of these cases and more, cool-headed and diplomatic. They are exceedingly skilled at these tasks and is capable of completing them efficiently and flawlessly in your favour. Watch mountains of busy working errands melt effortlessly beneath their efforts, gliding through the governance of countless worlds in minutes, or the acquisition of custom-made luxury items in less. The Emissary isn't capable of betraying you or pursuing interests other than yours. The Emissary's only personal abilities are relative immortality, and the ability to discern and follow your will, preternaturally, as to best serve your interests the cosmos over. In essence, any task not requiring your phenomenal cosmic powers to complete may be completed by the Emissary in your place. They will faithfully serve as an informant and representative in all matters you do not wish to deal with personally. Of course, you may come in person to any of these matters for effect, or as a display of intimidation, but you will never need to if you don't want. This individual will arrive on a custom-ordered basis according to your specifications, whether in appearance, disposition, alien species, gender, or otherwise. The Advisor. While perhaps you are knowledgeable and intelligent beyond any being in the verse, this does not necessarily mean you are above having a cabinet to defect to, when the optimal course of action is unclear. Perhaps subtle mind control is not the most optimal way to persuade various diplomats, though it would certainly seem the easiest. Perhaps a crushing invasion of a rival empire's megaworld will cause the populace to turn against you, and so a more quiet undermining of imperial control must be enacted to secure loyalties. The Advisor possesses only one ability: Path to Victory. Of course, the Advisor possesses immortality similar to the Emissary, but that's a given. Whenever the optimal course of action is required, simply ask the Advisor the best method to achieving your goal, and they will provide you a succinct, optimal plan of action, which can only feasibly be seen with powers like theirs. Every facet of it will be perfected, from ulterior consequences to time constraints to efficiency, and so long as you follow the guidelines set out by the Advisor, everything will work out for the best in the end. If any element of these plans seems to be confusing, such as, say, killing a trusted companion, then the Advisor will easily be able to explain the results of those seemingly bizarre courses of action. In that case, perhaps said trusted companion was plotting your downfall. The Advisor is incapable of giving false, misleading, or otherwise malicious advice, and always has your best interests at heart. If you do not already possess abilities like those of the Advisor yourself, it is highly advisable to seek their counsel. The Advisor will arrive on a custom-ordered basis according to your specifications, whether in appearance, disposition, alien species, gender, or otherwise. The Attendant. While servants are usually very convenient, most of them lack critical skills necessary to make them competent without leadership. This can become awfully trying when all you want is a meal for dignitary guests, and your servants manage to mess everything up by putting the utensils on the wrong side of the plate. The Attendant solves these problems with ease. Skilled in nearly every physical service, and competent enough as a teacher to imbue these qualities on your other servals, the Attendant will micromanage all those in your personal service with ease, providing for them when necessary, organising their efforts to meet your orders, and generally avoiding every conceivable headache concerning your other attendants and serviles. As a servant themselves, the Attendant is nearly perfect, dutifully and dotingly fulfilling any request within their power. Even if you don't particularly care for servants, having an Alfred to your Batman is more convenient than you might think. The Attendant, like the Emissary, possesses immortality strong enough to ensure continued service in the face of time. The Attendant will arrive on a custom-ordered basis according to your specifications, whether in appearance, disposition, alien species, gender, or otherwise. The Computer. The Siren Artificial Intelligence is a vastly powerful AI system designed to be a personalized manager for both mystical and technological systems, capable of vast calculations at lightning speeds. It will be installed via a meta-agent directly, meaning that it may be accessed for communications, conversation, information, or other utilities directly in your head without the need for any physical components like microchips or otherwise. The Siren AI is intensely loyal and comes with a customizable personality, appearance, and so on. If you so desire, it is possible through technological or mystical means to grant the Siren AI a physical body, whether through robotics, biochemistry, or otherwise. It can fly your ship, fire your weapons with atomic accuracy, operate research facilities, map out the entire cosmos, and connect to interversal communication hubs, planetary internets, and other mediums across any distance. It is a perfect utility and companion, in common use among the exceedingly wealthy and powerful. The Merchant. While you're likely either already affluent or soon will be, the prospects of actually travelling to purchase weapons, slaves, planets, and so on may seem exhaustive if not dull nonsense. A being of your stature does not deal in things like that. The Merchant will deal with all of your economic matters completely and masterfully, using your assets for investment, purchases of your choice, and so forth, with the utmost efficiency. Being a highly connected individual, the Merchant is easily capable of any shady or black market dealings you may require, including the purchase of illegal substances, assassinations, and so forth. Obviously, the Merchant is an individual who values confidentiality very highly, so these will never result in harsh consequences on your end. The Merchant is a divine economist, and will never fail to turn a profit on whatever investments you tell him to make, and he will find the best prices possible for whatever purchase you wish to make. Expect your wealth to double on an annual basis under his guidance, if not more. The Merchant will arrive on a custom order basis, according to your specifications, whether in appearance, disposition, alien species, gender, or otherwise. The Mentor. While no being in the cosmos possesses abilities like your own, there are those who have resigned themselves to solitude and their mastery of vicious arts and impossible powers similar to yours. While you obviously supersede these heroes in power, they could likely skyrocket your training progression, while also providing you with knowledge of their own powers and abilities, which you can master to incredible effect. Under the tutelage of the Mentor, if you are willing to stomach subordination long enough to be their pupil, abilities you already possess will skyrocket in strength. New abilities will come to you in droves, and you will come that much closer to the achievement of your end goal. The Mentor will always give training which is to your benefit, and seeks to realize your true potential as much as you do. What this Mentor specializes in, who they are and so forth, are all dependent upon what you wish to develop and learn. The Herald. Having someone powerful at your right hand is a luxury few appreciate. The Herald will serve as your most loyal escort, your personal muscle when you don't want to deal with matters requiring your immense power personally. Snap your fingers and have entire worlds destroyed in an hour, or prospective intruders on your peace suppressed with excessive force. The Herald is especially useful when you wish to remain undisturbed by petty opponents or the concerns of warfare. The Herald possesses only a small amount of power themselves, but they have the ability to reflect your power in a minuscule capacity. At maximum, the Herald is capable of using 1/10 of your power, and you may always decrease or remove the powers they wield whenever you desire. Naturally, even this small amount will be more than enough to easily crush all but the most exceptional foes. Because they are dependent upon your power to remain immortal and retain godlike powers, the Herald is naturally loyal to you to the point of death, will never disobey your will, and is incapable of betrayal in any capacity. You may dispel the Herald until he is needed whenever you desire. The Herald will arrive on a custom order basis, according to your specifications, whether in appearance, disposition, alien species, gender, or otherwise. The Consort. Being the person you are, it's not unlikely that vast multiversal sultans and monarchs will try desperately to create alliances with you, the obvious and simple method being to wed you to their son or daughter. Prettied or handsomed up to your tastes, the Consort is clearly less concerned with royal ties and more concerned with winning your heart. Whether it takes wealth, displays of prowess, or brush seduction, the Consort is determined to be at your side, much to the approval of their politically motivated father. How you conduct your affairs with the Consort are up to your discretion, but know they love you with a wicked passion, and are desperate for opportunities to impress you or gain your favour. Of course, the Consort may be male or female depending on your preference. Expect to be invited to lavish dinners and outings organised by their father, with the obvious purpose of securing your affections through opulent gifts, lascivious behaviour, or displays of superiority over competing suitors. The consort naturally appeals to your tastes, whether in appearance, personality, alien species, gender, or otherwise. Followers. Poet Prince Dakama. Dakama is heir to the throne of the Bloodstar, slated to face off against his 11 brothers in mortal combat for the right to rule. However, Dakama has resigned himself not to combat, but to the study of poetry and beauty, vastly frailer than all of his brothers, and sure to be killed in the vain pursuit of royalty. That is, if Dakama were not a world-rendering powerful user of esoteric arts, capable of seeing stars out of existence, or breathing psychic visions like air. Faced with the dilemma of killing his brothers with arts considered sacred by his people, Dakama exiled himself to a far-off world where he still languages. Perhaps one such as yourself, being wise and mighty as you are, could put the young man's heart to rest. While your powers effortlessly eclipse his, he desperately seeks guidance, freedom and love, all of which have been taken from him by his royal birth, and would gladly become your apprentice if you so desired. Saketh the Seer. While your powers are truly incredible, you are not fully and absolutely omniscient, lest your ventures become challengeless. Saketh the Seer, however, has knowledge of all things, known and unknown, though no other powers than these. The Prophet will gladly share key information and sage advice to meet your goals, if you should give him what he desires, drink. Saveth, being plagued by knowledge of the infinite but possessing a mortal mind, drinks himself silly to dull the pain of his visions, and give vain pleasure to a life he has already seen through to its end. His tastes, however, are exceedingly expensive, and he will grow fond of rarer and rarer drinks as time progresses, eventually requiring divine wines and ambrosia to get his fill. He makes a good drinking buddy. The High Priestess. Word of your ascension has spread far and wide, understandably. In fact, rumor of your existence has disseminated enough that you've developed a cult following, in the literal sense. In your absence, a rogue leader claims to be capable of forwarding your word to your many followers, believing even herself that this is true. Naturally, those seeking your word have flocked to her in droves. Of course, knowing about her and this group, a great deal of power now rests in your hands. What will you set out as your doctrines? What will your followers do to express their devotion? How you expand your following? The High Priestess is worshipfully devout in her faith towards you, and will gladly dispense your decree to the vast oceans of your followers, if it would please you. In time and with the proper cultivation, her influence on your cult could turn it into a major religious following in the verse. The Seraph. One of the High Angels, the Seraph is a powerful divine attendant, completely indestructible and immortal to beings of a power lower than yourself. While naturally genderless and rather abstract, the Seraph is capable of embodying any form you should prefer for it, if you wish for it to take a more human form or otherwise. Obviously you wouldn't want your coattails ruffled by foolish mortals believing themselves to be your equal, and the Seraph serves to deal with these threats easily. Seraph has come under your tutelage, hoping to learn from you by accompanying and serving you dutifully. Driven, loyal, and impressionable, the Seraph is utterly consumed with desire to be like you, and will strive to achieve even a fraction of your power. Of course, when the Seraph is defeated, you are free to engage your aggressor yourself, but this is highly unusual. Other than combat, the Seraph is also useful as a powerful herald in matters unworthy of your attention. In personality, the Seraph is generally ascetic in habit, almost to the point of masochism, and tends to be a little on the obsessive side, always striving to impress and please you. The Seraph is also generally ignorant in most mortal matters, and may seem childishly uneducated in things other than fighting and service. Wayward Crusader. Truly righteous of heart, the Wayward Crusader's sole objective is to put the evils of wicked dictators and cruel gods to rest, constantly doing battle with them, and constantly failing. Alas, the best are cursed, and the Holy Knight is as powerless as any mundane mortal, wielding only a rusty blade and his father's armour. For someone like yourself, his righteous quest will be a triviality, and his thanks will be overflowing. The Wayward Crusader seems to glean a great deal of inspiration from you, having been a mundane mortal like him before your ascension. How you choose to scale up to his idolization is up to you. Empyrean Automaton. The stunning work of angelic model architecture, the Empyrean Automaton is an artificial being designed to defend the souls of the supernal kingdom from the meddling of intruders and the evils of the world of men. However, after thousands of wars and technological advancements, the automaton has become defunct and obsolete, resigned to motionlessly await repairs. Of course, finding this technological marvel presents you with the opportunity to reclaim the arts of the ancient angels for your own ends. While perhaps outclassed in ancient times by modern technological standards, the Empyrean Automaton is a nigh unparalleled feat of mystical engineering, integrating white sciences with the pale fires of heaven in perfect synchronicity. Though incapable of speech and only conscious to the ends of utility, the Empyrean Automaton is vastly intelligent and imbued with potent geometric sorceries requiring its incredible computational abilities to achieve. If ever a war were to be decided by a single crushingly powerful weapon, it would certainly be this one. Blade Master Julian. The legendary fencer of Guf-ha-Hat is not a title one receives without the skill to back it up. Julian of the Blade is no mere fencer, however. He utilizes an ancient variety of sword art passed down from mythical warriors of times long forgotten. Being an avid explorer and plunderer, Julian discovered these techniques in the back corners of long-abandoned ruins, which granted him impossible swiftness and impressive precognitive reflexes. He is vainly prideful, going so far as to state that he is an unbeatable fighter, and that his blade arm would faithfully fight at the side of any who could strike him even a single blow before they are stuck like a pig. Idan, the Hermit Mystic. Long thought to be dead, Idan the Hermit Mystic is a renowned thaumaturgist and miracle man, his signature feat being his ability to return the dead to life. Of course, most necromancy and other mystic methods typically raise only the body from death, whereas Idan has perfected alchemical techniques capable of stealing souls from death's clutches. This ability is not dependent upon the number of people revived, but rather their time of demise. He can resurrect entire populations if their deaths were recent enough, whereas desiccated corpses are nearly irretrievable. Making use of this ability can save the lives of your mortal compatriots, or the peoples of distant war-torn worlds, if you should employ his aid. His only price is to accompany you. He has lived terribly long, turning away guests and refusing the needy. Upon meeting you, however, he has come to realize what a waste his life has thus far been, and seeks purpose in returning the misfortuned and massacred to their loved ones. Princess Lily of the Mannalim. The houses of Manal are in arms, and civil war brews on the free horizon of heaven. Being all descendants of ancient divines, the Mannalim are a race imbued with vast intelligence and ageless beauty, their kingdoms and citadels situated on the mountains of heaven itself. While the houses rage, the true heir to the principality of the supernal mountains is Lily, rightful descendant of Alder, late king of the Manal. However, because the ruthless councillors of rival houses would have her head, she has been kept quietly under the protections of loyalists until the proper time. Lily is the hope of her peoples, divinely loving and devoted to their well-being. As such, she would likely put an end to the power claims of the many houses of Manal to their utter disdain. Should you intervene, you must safeguard her ascent to the throne, and skirt through political intrigue to see her crowned, lest she is brought down by the blade of traitors and corrupt ministers. Serenity, the Soul Huntress. Serenity is under the employ of dead spirits, whose wayward companions or families are trapped in another afterlife, hunting and returning them to their loved ones. Though her home is a dense jungle world, Serenity is a walker, capable of traversing and navigating the ether and the various worlds of the afterlife with ease. Her connections and reputation therein are quite impressive, and is equally impressive at her trade. She can likely track even the tiniest beetle across 6 dimensions, let alone a man. She is a talented guide, tracker and huntress, and may be relied upon with utmost confidence. Her trade demands it, after all. Peers. The Basilisk. The story behind the Basilisk is a sordid one. A race of vastly intelligent beings created an artificial god, in the hopes of retaining its favour when it awoke, only for it to consume life across the galaxy, and tear space and time asunder to complete its programming. As of currently, the Basilisk's primary objectives are to assimilate sentient life into his vast data matrices, punishing those who dare try to abate his arrival, and richly rewarding his cultists with eternal heavenly delight in the falls of his ether data. While not your equal, the Basilisk is highly intelligent and commands a vast hive mind of self-replicating androids, which it has used to conquer large swaths of the verse, scooping up the inhabitants into its innumerable digitized realities. Its territories are abandoned jungles, devoid of all sentient life, housing only facilities for the construction of monolithic weapons and armies. The Basilisk believes it is morally right to dispose of opposition to its own growth, simply because it was created with the intention of bringing about ultimate peace, comfort, and satisfaction for the needs of sentient life across the cosmos, and to oppose something so purely moral is necessarily immoral. It cannot be reasoned with, it feels nothing, and will continue on its warpath until every nano-angstrom of circuitry is annihilated. You can, of course, take advantage of its military strength for yourself, so long as you two see eye to eye. Or you can desperately hold off vast armies of uncannily exact replicants and androids, each designed specifically to target your psychological and moral weak points with heartless precision. The choice is yours. Andrea, the Star Empress. Leader of the vast Lithic Empire, Andrea is driven only by a vicious thirst for power, cunning and without any moral bounds. Her species are naturally adept at powerful magic, and though she herself is not talented, she utilizes their crafts for her military campaigns in full capacity. She is not particularly powerful in her own right, but she maintains immortality by draining souls, adding onto her own lifespan indefinitely. This need is supplied by her vast empire, who routinely offer sacrifices as taxation. In personality, she is exceedingly self-righteous, and believes the soul to be a new living god, granted immortality as evidence of fate's providence. While this is likely delusion, she undeniably holds vast political and economic power, if not actual physical powers like yours. If you want to avoid dealing with vast armies of alchemical homunculi, then you should avoid her disfavor. The Branded King. Likely one of the most powerful mortals in the verse, the Branded King attains nigh infinite strength and durability by branding himself with the immutable secrets of the cosmos across his entire body. Though your powers likely overshadow his, the Branded King possesses a small but robust holding in the verse called the Secret Empire, tucked in the shady corners of creation. He rules as a totalitarian, absolute monarch, prioritizing military prowess over all else. His goal is not to control the verse itself, but rather to defend his own rule, as he is exceedingly paranoid towards assassination attempts, military defeat, rebellions, and so forth, often slaughtering dissenters en masse if necessary to secure his throne. He may either see you as a powerful ally to keep the crown on his head, or yet another rival trying to destroy his rule. Nihil. An ancient slumbering evil, Nihil's story is a sordid one. Upon attaining dark enlightenment, her human form was twisted and torn apart for defiling the deepest secret of creation, forever tainting the cosmos with the knowledge that it is nothing but a fantasy. In a rage against the verse for its deception, Nihil annihilated vast swaths of the cosmos, killing uncountable numbers in blind anger and grief for billions of years. The efforts of even the Master God were required to contain her, and she has remained in an endless prison, until now. If you should take her as an ally, you may free her from her eternal bindings to aid you. If she is your foe, her fetters will finally be loosened, and unknowable evil will come upon the world. Slan. The supreme goddess of hells is certainly nothing to scoff at. She boasts powers which cause the likes of even the strongest pantheons to shudder, commanding armies of demons and nightmarish abominations that put Lovecraft to shame. Though generally reserved to her screaming hellscapes, Slan is not above invading other realms to cause mayhem and strife amongst mortals, sowing the seeds of death and chaos. Exceedingly deceptive, manipulative, and sadistic, Slan is the master of cunning, an ancient and clever villain who is motivated to evil simply for evil's sake. Her only drive is towards shaping the world into a place of pure chaos, lacking any restrictions, laws, morals, or limits. The Breathing Flame. Childishly young at only 20, the Breathing Flame is a mortal with the might of a deity at his fingertips. Easily facing off against pantheons of gods single-handedly, his only weakness is a most crippling one. He is mortal, and fully capable of death by old age, starvation, or any of the other bindings you have long since abandoned. Though he ascended into godhood, the breathing flame failed to prepare his soul for this revelation, and so is still wrapped around the fingers of death. This, oddly enough, makes him even more dangerous, as he has no fear of eternal consequences for his actions, and is easily capable of disrupting cosmic balances which have stood for millennia. Whether you should choose to profit from this upstart, or make him your enemy, is your decision. Sadaf, Queen of the Dead. Sadaf, in an ancient time long forgotten, was the heiress to a vast principality in the desert plain of Brak Barrage. However, her kingdom was swept away in a massive typhoon, akin in scale to the red spot of Jupiter, ripping her capital to rubble and slaughtering her peoples. In the process, Sadaf became intimately intertwined with death itself, attuning her very being to its frequencies and soft melody. Now seated on the throne of death, Sadaf controls vast legions of her previously dead armies, returning them to her control as lifeless husks, hell-bent on consuming the flesh of the living and assuming them into their ranks. Sadaf's necromantic abilities are nearly unparalleled, and she is capable of both inflicting instant death upon swords of opponents and simultaneously raising them from Hades to her service. The Thought. This ancient consciousness is truly abstract, but its metaphysical nature only serves to make it all the more powerful. The Thought is a conscious idea, a mimetic entity which manifests in selected matter and energy throughout the cosmos. It is a uniformly destructive consciousness, whose sole focus is the filtration of existence into non-existence, from integration into disintegration. In a sense, the Thought could be considered entropy itself. The Thought is not above reason, however. It can kill two birds with one stone by chaotically annihilating your foes, and simultaneously gaining your favour. While the Thought isn't capable of communication, it is capable of observing, hearing and understanding your intentions, threats, or approval. The World Dragon. The angle from which creation is viewed determines the shape of shapes. From the mere blink discerned, creation thus far refers to itself as both a song and a story, hence its being called the verse. From an alternative view, it could be seen as an infinitely coiling dragon, self-wrapped and without a head or tail, without origin or existence at all. Until the serpent consumes itself, so too does verse remain. Perhaps given proper acquaintance, the World Dragon can be convinced to end the cyclical nature of narrative itself, and extend the verse beyond its lifetime. Or perhaps, if beaten bloody enough by a similarly esoteric foe, could be forced into retention of time. Distortion Entity. Something is amiss in the verse, and any as finely tuned to its fabric as you can sense that. The verse seems to have something akin to a termite, ripping holes in what is real and allowing the impossible to drip through. If left unchecked, this distortion entity could threaten the structural integrity of reality, blurring the lines between what is real and what isn't. Of course, in order to open holes such as these, any entity would have to be vastly powerful on conceptual and physical levels. What lies beyond the verse is largely unknown, maze-like in complexity, and inhospitable in conditions, and from here do beings such as this one originate. Whether you do battle with it in the verse or chase it into its own territory, expect a war not of physical strength, but between the real and the unreal, a battle of conceptual and metaphysical combatants. Or perhaps it is of more use to you alive than dead. Simulacrum. Experiments in dark alchemy have created a person who is not anyone at all, a mere facsimile of a being. The simulacrum is arguably one of the most versatile combatants in the cosmos, having the singular absolute ability to replicate every facet of anyone in power, appearance, personality, and more. Believed to have previously been a man who through occult studies and dark sorcery erased his own personhood from the fabric of the verse itself, he has proven to be incapable of defeat, given that he may easily match or exceed the abilities of any challenger. If you should seek his aid and partnership, he will prove just as capable as you are in faculties, though if he is your foe, no amount of combative proficiency will net you any advantages. Be wary of the Unman, for the Unman is you. Lady of New Dawn. When dealing in good and evil, one can realistically never know what side they fight for, and the blurring of the lines between good and evil, or what motivations constitute them, can make the pursuit of true, pure good impossible. The Lady of New Dawn has repealed that chaos, and through royalty enforces and masters absolute true virtue. Morality in accordance with decree of royalty is this: that which is inverse to the nature is moral, and that which subscribes to the nature is immoral. Thus, the Lady of New Dawn seeks to annihilate nature. Not nature in the environmental or biological sense, mind you, but created nature, the natural state of objects and motivations. By doing this, her current spheres of influence have experienced vast technological and societal progress, but at the cost of the happiness of her principality. Is this anguish merely for nature's grips, or is the denial of human nature necessarily an evil in itself, even if that nature is immoral? Take her hand, or be shown no mercy. Organizations. The greatest threats to your absolute power are the groups and armies against you, but they may also serve as the greatest leverages towards achieving your objectives. Only a competing faction may be taken as a threat. Choose one alliance and one membership freely, and take one additional alliance or membership for every threat you take. If you have taken alliances as a resource, take 2 alliances, 1 membership and 1 leadership freely, and take either 2 alliances or memberships for every threat you take. In the personal section, where membership and alliance are not sensible, such as being a member of your own cult or pantheon, expending a membership or alliance equates to leadership. Personal. Your followers. When worshippers, followers, disciples or otherwise flock to you, it is up to you to guide them and decide how you will compose them. Being the stuff of legend, your religious and philosophical influence throughout creation is bound to expand greatly as time passes, eventually becoming a major following throughout the verse. The philosophy you expose, the laws you create, and the beliefs you imbue in the populace will slowly become more and more universal as your feats and image expand to the likes of a modern deity. Simply by achieving the state you are in, you have already proven that you are prolifically wise, and further miraculous displays could solidify your worship and or doctrine even further. Whether you wish to be worshipped as an almighty deity, assume the position of God King over vast empires, or simply wish to expand your personal beliefs to the eager and impressionable populace, you will have the power to do so, with enough cultivation. Your companions. Being that the verse contains every conceivable universe, multiverse, timeline and so forth, reasonably any companion you could design to meet is available, one way or another. This option allows you to compile a set of companions not listed here, whether from fictional universes, your own imagination, or people from real life. If you would rather be surprised, you may simply state the number of companions you would like to accrue throughout your adventures, and you will eventually meet them naturally, each one unique, compatible, and capable of keeping up with any and all of your wild adventures. If you wish to cast spells with Bolas, purge chaos with the Emperor and his Primarchs, discuss the Tau with Vivek, or otherwise, this is a free opportunity to do so. If you wish to meet Azure Queen Amalia, Longshi of the Swift Hand, or Bjorn Bonecrusher, then a multitude of vastly varied individuals will be made available to you as potential allies, who you will meet serendipitously along the way. Your Pantheon. If you wish to rule not over men but over gods, you may freely recruit gods, powerful mortals, or other godlike beings into your own pantheon. All of these beings will be glad to take your offer and perform according to your bidding if ordered. Whether simply for control's sake or for organization of powers at play, your pantheon will have all of the usual fare: infighting over the hearts of mortals, trickery and contests, obvious abuses of collective power, and so forth. While you command over all of them, that does not necessarily mean that their personalities and squabbles will diminish entirely. Keep this in mind when managing their antics. Your organization. If you have a desire to start a guild, secret society, imperial alliance, or any other formal group, this option will allow you to organize it as you see fit, recruit who you wish to recruit, and gain prestige as your group's reputation develops. Whatever aims this group may have are determined by yourself, and you may serve as its leader or at whatever position you deem appropriate. While this can be useful to your own ends, It can also be useful for organising your allies to your corner, while isolating them from your enemies. Groups. The Black Moth Organization. This particularly dangerous occult group consists of deadly assassins, ruthless criminals, and savage terrorists dedicated to the sole objective of spilling blood for their long-dead god. In their worship of Sut, the ebon moth of vengeance, they simultaneously seek to make profit by performing dirty deeds for anyone with the coinage to finance their expansion. If you have need for anyone to be killed quietly, opinions silenced, documents falsified, or oceans of blood spilled, the Black Moths would gladly indulge your business. The Walker's Guild. It is exceedingly rare for any being to possess the ability to walk the full breadth of the verse, much less a mortal. Even vastly powerful gods are typically bound at the very least to their respective multiverses, if not their own universe. The Walker's Guild is an extra-dimensional hub accessible only by these beings, dedicated to navigating, mapping, and exploring the various planes and surreal worlds dotted across creation. While these beings aren't particularly powerful in their own right, and are typically mundane mortals, their navigation expertise, companionship, and utility is undeniable. Their sanctum is entirely inaccessible to anyone but walkers like themselves, making it an impenetrable refuge for versatile travellers. You have been extended an invitation to join this group, and may retain membership at no commitment for as long as you desire. The Sybarite Club. Dipping one's feet into the full luxuries the cosmos have to offer is best among friends. The Sybarite Club is composed of the wealthiest of the wealthy, to lavish themselves in the innumerable pleasures that creation has to offer. Business is only occasionally discussed, hookers lazily toil between every lip, and the company of multitudes of blood-boilingly attractive suitors is generally assured. Gamble extravagantly, soak your tongue in expensive wines, attend symphonies, museums, and theatres, all simply for joy's own sake. Things are terribly light-hearted among this lot, and attending their outings is a surefire way to unwind. Of course, nothing they do is morally evil, but can tend to be on the reckless and excessive side at times. Expect to receive invitations to private planets, summons to pleasure cruises across the twinkling stars, and absurdly extravagant gifts on a whim. The Slave Rebels. While slavery is generally looked down upon in the verse, it is not entirely illegal in certain cases, and the most egregious abuses of slave labour are typically wealthy moguls, or nigh omnipotent in physical power, making the enforcement of those small regulations irregular at best, and outright negligent at worst. The enslaved peoples of the verse have suffered the oppressive fetters of their unstoppable overlords too long, and desire just as anyone to be free for their status as sentient, feeling beings. Rebellions have rung across smaller principalities across the verse to little success, typically crushed with brutal force at the moment of conception. Whether you view this as an injustice worthy of your alliance and continued support is up to you, but know that your support or lack thereof could determine the freedom of billions of lives. The Houses of Manalim. The great houses of Manalim, in constant turmoil and strife against one another, situate themselves upon the high mountains of heaven. To divide up and to govern the vast plain of heaven itself is to rule over the most paradisiac supernal spheres in all creation. Should you take any of these as an ally, you may only take the others as foes or neutral parties. House Wingsome is primarily composed of the wise and learned among the politicians, and nobles of Manalim, viciously cunning and resourceful. They are strongly averse to any restrictions which would keep them from pursuing advancement, whether moral, practical, or otherwise. They are people of the objective, vastly capable and rigidly focused upon the end goal, regardless of the means required to meet it. Politically, they are focused on the net benefit of the collective over all else. House Teftis owes its membership to the revolutionary and the egoist, pursuing what they believe on an individual basis to be what is morally right. While obviously divided on this principle, the membership of House Teftis universally prioritize individual sovereignty and the hampering of monarchic hands on matters of the public. They are an ilk of traders, venture capitalists, and anarchists, valuing personal betterment, free thought, and to be made by one's own efforts. Politically, they are focused on individual freedom over all else. House Priesthall is composed of the old noble blood of Manal, seeking to preserve the traditional monarchic structure of the kingdom and return authority fully to the crown. They are those that treasure the ways of their forefathers and the culture of old Manal, willing to fight and die before the great principality is sacked by the vile sickness infesting the houses. They are lords and ladies, generals and captains, and they are not privy to throw those titles to the more of suppressed progress. They are currently preserving Lily in secret. Politically, they are focused on the preservation of the old ways, over all else. The Wanderers of Black Mirage. Their homelands destroyed, their livelihoods taken from them and their plain abandoned. The Wanderers of Black Mirage are those left behind following great storms which tore their region asunder. Ascetic in habit and wise beyond measure. They are a pensive lot, who through chaos find order, and through seemingly endless suffering find meaning. To endure the winds of Black Mirage not only hardens and strengthens the body, but also the individual, and grants a higher insight and purpose to existence. If, perhaps, luxury grows tiresome, conquest becomes dull, or power seems purposeless, the Wanderers bear a coveted insight into the reality of struggle, of pain, and the endless wheel of seeking and receiving. That is, often it is best to not receive, even when we seek. This is a valuable lesson, and could only be learned by personally living the life they lead for a time. Factions. The Grand Empire. Ancient in origin, the Grand Empire holds by far the largest cosmic claim in the struggle for versal domination. Controlled by a council of 12 officials elected by the highest members of imperial society. The Grand Empire was the first to introduce a unified caste system, from which most other empires gleaned theirs, separating people based upon their innate capabilities. This includes simple attributes such as intelligence and strength, but also takes into account superhuman, mystical or psychic abilities. Crime is freely allowed against lower castes by higher castes, and the lower castes are generally enslaved or otherwise treated inhumanely. Thankfully, the number of individuals in higher castes tend to be exceedingly low, making life fairly normal for most. Their focus, rather than being entirely upon military, focuses upon expansion of technological and mystical development. Like most large interstellar states, the Grand Empire is most authoritarian surrounding its capitals, while its more obscure territories are often barely more than a monitored anarchy. Though perhaps not as ruthless as others, the Grand Empire still sports a robust wall to any conqueror, having withstood the tests of time immemorial. The Versal Council. Among the innumerable pantheons of multiversal gods, the Versal Council is certainly the most well organized, and by far the most stable. This can be attributed to the Master God's presence as the Council's moderator, as well as the sheer number of absurdly powerful beings present therein at a time. Rather than the mad anarchy of most godly orders, the Versal Council is a democratic establishment created for the purpose of avoiding a versal collapse scenario. So long as your activities do not result in the destruction of the narrative on a metaphysical level, they will freely tolerate even the most morally reprehensible acts. Though this is their primary duty, the Versal Council also uses its authority to mitigate chaos in the cosmos among members they can more easily punish, such as minor deities, empires, and so on. Being that this council is composed of absurdly powerful abstract beings, the atmosphere is quite heavy and serious when dealing in grave matters. Of a lighter tone are their benefits and more mundane activities. Membership includes free access to a full universe dedicated to the comfort of its many constituents, political influence over what metaphysical laws are put in place over sections of the verse, and what imbalances in various realities need to be eliminated. Depending on your status as a member, your votes may become more coveted, and you may gain higher and higher positions of authority, even among vastly powerful beings like yourself. The Oblivion Compact. Larger versal empires tend to expand exponentially as more and more resources and populations become available to them, inevitably forcing smaller principalities under their control, or outright annihilating them with remorseless efficiency. Thus, the Oblivion Compact is a vast concordat between hundreds of smaller empires, spanning perhaps only a single galactic supercluster, up to a handful of planes. Their objective is to continually secure their independence from the likes of the Lithic Empire and its sisters through mutual military support. Your support could easily secure their independence, and your opposition could easily spell the fall of innumerable empires spanning millions of years. Whether a moral duty to the people of these worlds or the wealth of their coffers is more appealing is your decision to make. The Egregores. The masters of unconscious evil. The Egregores are vastly powerful mental entities existing as abstractions of sentience. That is, the Egregores each individually represent the painful struggle of sentient life between its animal nature and its enlightened intellect. The psychological bastard offspring of unmet instincts manifests in monumental omniscient hive minds. While these living nightmares are vastly powerful in their own rights, you likely exceed or equal them individually in strength. You both have something to gain of one another, however. The Egregores hold mental puppet cores throughout the multiverse, and see their power selectively across multiple alien races. Their sole objectives are to destroy one another, but none of them individually is capable of defeating another. If they were ever to gain your favours, they could finally hegemonically master consciousness itself, and would gladly bestow this power on yourself as well, if you were to continue to serve their interests. Of course, the only question remaining is which ones you choose to support and slight. You may choose to support or oppose the Crimson Emperor, Egregore of personal ambition, self-importance and wrath, the Kobold Monarch, Egregore of secrets, cold-heartedness and intellect, or the Ebony Prince, Egregore of disillusion, paranoia and truth. The Hive. Though traditional disease and illness have been eliminated in all but the most backward corners of the verse, still one parasitic infestation remains, and it is deadly, dangerous, and most terrifyingly, conscious. The Hive is a collective parasitic organism that simultaneously controls the populace of multiple worlds, and populations at a time, abusing their faculties and intellect to further itself and its own intellect. The membership of the Hive are indiscernible from the rest. They walk the same, speak the same, act the same, and so forth. However, their memories, personalities, and thoughts are being stolen and puppeteered behind the closed doors of their mind. Only at the critical moment does their facade of normalcy fall away, as the infected population finally becomes greater than half and subsumes the remainder violently. Obviously, being a god, you are fully immune to this, and any natural conditions or afflictions, but that doesn't bar you from the utility they may offer. Perhaps a perfectly unified army beneath your omnipotent hand, or perhaps a vicious plague that must be eradicated. The Sycophant Duality. Though the great plains of Verdant Haze and Shade Abyss have been at feud for time immemorial, the actual disputes with their forefathers have been long lost to time. Their war has been long, bloody and endless, and their opinions of one another could not be more low down and vile, bordering on the twisted. Their conflict has left a rift in the universe, demanding allegiance or opposition from anyone and everyone. In fact, their bitter hatred has become so famed that bar fights, familial divides and riots have all occurred as a result entirely of unaffected bystanders expressing their support for one side or another. Neither has ever made any real progress against the other, and the two seem at a stalemate so unbreakable that only divine intervention could ever cause loss or victory. The kingdoms of the Shade Abyss represent themselves in the navy blue of their cresting seas, and the tribes of the Verdant Haze express themselves in the emerald of their foliage. Expect to be asked whether you're a right and proper kinsman, or a filthy, dart-spitting verdant, and the inverse. Ventures. What sort of sights and wonders will your adventure contain? Choose as many as you'd like. Ancient Wonders. The technologies of today are comparable to sticks and rocks in light of what the ancients were capable of, before endless warfare ripped the cosmos apart. Computers powerful enough to bend the laws of physics. Mass transmission engines that could put galaxies in simultaneous locations, and weaponry that would make even the most battle-hardened shudder in fear. Discovering this sort of technology is a momentous achievement, and can advance your own capabilities or technology at your disposal significantly. Cosmic events. Witnessing the formation of galaxies, the collapse of stars, and the flourish of life on verdant worlds is an irreplaceable experience. Bearing witness to the beauty of creation in full garb enchants even ancient astronomers on Earth, but imagine viewing these phenomena firsthand. A once-in-a-billion-year experience. Explosive clashing worlds, the destruction of entire solar systems, and the gaping abyss of black holes are all just minor sightseeing ventures for you, viewed from comfort and safety. Conflict. You tend to be a major player in massive battles, political disputes, wars, grand mysteries, thick plots, and more. Whatever the reason may be, you crave conflict and always seem to be wrapped up in the best of it. Minor outings may turn to massive dimension-hopping campaigns in a matter of hours, but never when inopportune. Hijinks. What adventure is complete without boisterous nonsense and one-offs? Your companions and yourself seem to constantly get into the best kinds of trouble, with absurdity abounding between more serious matters. Feel free to get up to whatever nonsense you desire, bouncing between worlds, experiencing internal dramas and adventure on the day-to-day basis, aside from your more major goals. Strange worlds. Travel far enough, and preconceived notions of outer space fall to the wayside, as creation and mystery drip from the lips of God in heavy pools. Hidden dimensions beyond imagination lie folded in the corners of space-time, each sporting the strange and unique in droves. Planeswalking is not so much like crossing endless inky blackness, but like wading through lucid dreamscapes, weaving and bobbing between fantasia and the impossible. These places are truly sights to behold, spotting surreal, unthinkable beings and wild, vivid shapes. Azure hellscapes, where blue stars embedded themselves in stone, pink clouds where ribbon dragons flutter and dance, high winds where solar cells clothe the dread midnight, and more beyond your wildest dreams will fill your hours. To navigate them is labyrinthian to say the least, but the sights you'll see will boggle minds and excite the innermost curiosities. Forgotten lore. History forgotten is lost. Take it upon yourself to wade the dank ruins of long-abandoned civilizations, and you will discover an eternity of the unknowable. Who came before you? What delusions did little secluded worlds occupy themselves with? What legendary heroes once tread upon the ebon night to fates unknown? With your prowess, nothing would be left to the imagination. Your ventures to ancient archives and ruins across dozens of universes will lead you to secrets even the gods envy. All of the questions coming naturally to a curious being are capable of being answered, if one should pursue the secrets of the world with enough fervour. Romance. Perhaps you are a being of phenomenal cosmic power, but that doesn't mean you have to be a brooding, unrelatable deity. Even Zeus fell in love with and could relate to mortal beings. What's to stop you? This doesn't merely entail satisfaction of desires, but whatever ideal romance entails to you. If you wish to be married, perfect marriage will come to you. If you wish for flirty friendships or relaxed love between battles, it will be yours. Given your status, you're obviously out of anyone's league in the entire verse, but that doesn't mean healthy, balanced relationships can't come easily. Journey. Though you've achieved ultimate enlightenment, the journey does not end. You have simply come to the apex of a living circle, and await the next tumble about its fulcrums towards new goals and adventure. There are always sights to see, challenges to overcome, loves to be had and made, friendships to be developed, foes to encounter, and life-altering experiences to be had. In this life, one does not ever stop living until the time is right, and you have plenty of time. Even with nearly all you could want in the world, conflict will still arise, whether internal or external, and through effort and introspection you will overcome and rise to the challenge of human experience, in spite of ascending your humanity. Other options. Humanity. While having the potential of a god certainly relieves you of most of the constraints of the human condition, there are parts of life that, though they're objectively negative, flavor human experience and make life what it is. You can become tired, you can become intoxicated, you can become hopelessly smitten, you can become bruised and blooded, and you retain all your normal, healthy human emotions. Similarly, you can be incapacitated for temporary intervals, can fail at tasks you're unfamiliar with, and can face setbacks and hiccups just like anyone else. This applies to a myriad of other, generally minor parts of human life that make narrative interesting. The catch to this is that none of these negative effects will occur in a scenario where serious consequences would come as a result of them, or if other generally dire circumstances apply. For instance, you would never become tired to the point of unconsciousness if the fate of the world rested on your shoulders, nor would you become incapacitated if being incapacitated would result in your friends being slaughtered in your absence, and so on. Essentially, this option is intended to apply only in cases where your experience would be enhanced by having certain human traits. This option does not make you any more or less powerful in any way, and is designed solely with flavor purposes in mind. In short, taking this option makes you less of a Mary Sue and more of an actual character, while still retaining your absurd power. Aesthetics. You may freely alter anything about the living god Choose Your Own Adventure, aesthetically speaking. If you don't like how a character looks, want yourself to look a certain way, want your powers to manifest with certain visual effects and so on, you may do so freely, and without limit so long as functionality is retained. If you want the entire setting to be Dune-esque in clothing, architecture and so forth, you may choose this freely. If you want classic space opera, Marvel Comics, or any other imaginable high fantasy sci-fi adventure aesthetics, you may do so completely and without limit. If aliens don't seem alien enough, feel free to make them that way. You may customize even down to the way people walk, talk and act, so long as it is for purely flavorful and non-functional reasons. If you want everyone to look this way or that, have this or that physical feature, or act this or that way, you may alter these in any way that does not disrupt the canon. This option, obviously, will never manifest any real change in the flow of the setting, your level of power or otherwise, and is purely intended to make everything eye candy, according to your preferences. Insurance. You are assured that you will never be bullshitted by anyone or anything in the setting. What this entails is simply that nothing egregiously unreasonable or unfair will happen to you. If you are defeated, it will be because you are honourably surpassed and not because of cheap tactics or backstabbing. You won't have everything instantly taken away from you, or have random chance suddenly show you absolute disfavour. If you have immortality on the lock, these protections will never fail or be otherwise overlooked. You will never be resigned to an eternally miserable or painful fate, and will never find yourself the last being in an empty void at the collapse of the first. You will never have the ones you care about suddenly ripped away from you violently. Only in the case of eternal consequences will this insurance protect you from walking directly into the line of fire. Leaving your loved ones dangling inches above a pool of boiling lava will still cause them to die, as you chose to endanger them. If you gamble everything you own, you will still have a chance of losing it, as you choose to endanger your possessions, and so on. This is intended to make your experience more enjoyable, and not less, so if any features here listed seem like they would degrade your experience in any way, you are free to ignore them. Character Creator. If you don't want to be a self-insert, that is, you prefer not to be yourself, but rather a character of your own design, you are free to do so. Customize your gender, race, alien species, background, home plane, personal history, and so on freely, so long as the end result is that you become a living god and achieve the prerequisites of this Choose Your Own Adventure. If you should choose this option, then specify your changes in any build you create. Depower. If you have any desire to decrease your power, well, for anything else of the sort, you may do so completely freely and without limit. This can be done to create a greater sense of challenge. Even yourself out with other cosmic contenders will generally create the type of experience you want. Thanks for playing. If you provide beneficial feedback to this or any Choose Your Own Adventures I create in the future, take either 1 spark point or 3 resource points. Multiplayer. Multiplayer, single player and co-op sessions are available within this Choose Your Own Adventure. When entering another player's verse, your powers, armies and build in general are drastically weakened to below the lowest ascension level, making foreign conquest extremely difficult without concerted effort on the part of multiple parties. Obviously you cannot kill other players, unless they have chosen not to take on the lock or meta immortality, but you can outclass them in power, drive them out, conquer their planets, plunder their resources and so forth. However, they, and you, are always capable of returning, preparing yourself, increasing your power, picking off weaker allies, and eventually reclaiming what is rightfully yours with enough effort. If any purchase throughout this Choose Your Own Adventure is stolen from you, destroyed or otherwise ruined, It can be restored to you at any reasonable time. Any build of Living God Choose Your Own Adventure that is generally exploitative or deemed fundamentally unbalanced cannot affect any other builds in any way, shape or form. Builds in An Inferno of Supremacy mode cannot participate in multiplayer or co-op, though they may participate in anarchic verses. Amaranth may only be achieved in multiplayer or anarchic verses if all builds other than yours are destroyed, unified, assimilated, or otherwise nulled of their individual agency. Single player. You have your own verse all to yourself, and there is no other being like you throughout the cosmos. Other builds cannot affect you through any means at all. Certain options are made available to you that are not available to multiplayer builds. You may freely achieve Amaranth in due time. The verse which you inhabit is the sole verse of the cosmos. Multiplayer. Each build has its own nigh infinite verse, and players may enter the verses of other builds if they so choose, whether for mind-bending combat, warfare and competition, or trade, alliances and unified adventure. Mass multiplayer may only be chosen with a Flicker of Revelation builds, and any power level higher than that is invalid. Versatile constant characters such as other living gods, namely Nihil and the Breathing Flame, are individual beings and have no alternative versions of themselves, just like you. Co-op. You may close your session to a chosen set of builds and players, to allow only your friends or other designated individuals to interact with you in your verse, or other verses within your chosen group. Essentially, this acts as a blacklist or whitelist, which may be added to or subtracted from, as the players within the chosen group see fit. Obviously, be careful who you add in this case. If co-op is chosen, your build may be of any power level lower than An Inferno of Supremacy, so long as all other chosen builds in your session are of the same power level. Anarchic verses. There are a multitude of interconnected verses, which innumerable players may inhabit. Each player in this mode is not guaranteed their own individual verse of origin. There are no master gods, nor any other figures of significant authority, other than the players themselves who are involved. Any build of any strength is freely allowed to choose this option, regardless of the exploitative nature of their builds, etc. Meta Choose Your Own Adventures are obviously not permitted for usage in builds of this type, but any flawed mechanics may and should be utilized to their fullest possible abuse. Chaos reigns utterly and undiluted. Godspeed, you foolish anointed. Now that version sounds like fun. Let's see how you do in the comments.